Hey guys, and welcome to the Indie Game Culture Podcast, a podcast about indie games. You know it, I know it. We talk about indie games. I'm here with JT, and Melika is here. She just isn't with us at the moment. She's having some technical issues and will be joining us at some point. It is as much a mystery to me as it is to you, but she will be here at some point, I promise. And hopefully she doesn't miss too much. But at the minute, she's only going to be missing this admin that I'm going to be throwing at you. So, first of all, have you heard of the Indie Game Culture podcast? Yes, you have. Have you heard of the Indie Game Culture website? That's what I meant. The website is where we do our reviews, news, guides, all sorts of things. And it's great content if you want to go and have a look at that. Also, at the moment, we are doing our Indie Game Awards. They are currently on the site, and you can vote for the indies you want to win. So be sure to go and have a look at that. And just based on the results I've been getting at the moment, whenever you click other, please also write the game that you want to be the choice for other, because currently there are some topics on that list where other is sitting second or third in the rankings, and it's becoming a bit of a problem. But otherwise, you're doing a great job, and it's been a good response. Also, if you want to come and talk to us on the Indian Culture Discord, you absolutely can, and we'd welcome you with open arms to come and chat to us. But that's all of my spiel for today. Oh, and give us a 5-star review. That would be awesome. JT, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a nice few weeks. Nothing too noteworthy to mention, but I don't know, things are going well for me.
Nice. I have had a very hectic week of mostly downs, to be honest. I'm just rolling with the punches. We had our roof done, so just the whole roof of the house has been done. And whenever they were doing that, one of the guys slipped on the roof and came through our bathroom ceiling.
Oh
So
no! Oh
yeah,
gosh!
I know it was a problem, but they fixed it all for us, and it wasn't too big of a problem. But it was a bit dramatic just to see the big hole in the ceiling, like, oh my goodness. And that was like an hour into them starting the roof, so that was an issue. That's not even the end of it.
God, oh
During this
what?
week, my,
Oh
my
no!
my car, I know my car also broke down on the side of the road this week, so I
Oh,
had to sit for like 3 hours in the cold whilst the guy fixed it on roadside. So that was a pain. And I think that's the end of my hardship. I can't really remember. Oh, also, I'm sick.
no.
There's that too. That is a much lesser thing. I am well enough to be at this podcast and speak. My voice is going. So if you hear that, I apologize, but it's as good as it can possibly be. I've tried my very best.
I mean, honestly, after all that, I would be pretty upset. The that guy coming through the bathroom ceiling, that's straight up like Homestuck. That's horrible, but
Yeah.
also kind of hilarious too.
I mean, looking back in hindsight, I don't think we're quite there. I'm almost there, but my wife found it much more traumatic than me. So she is not at the joking period yet. So
Oh,
we're, we're we're waiting for that to happen.
yeah.
Um, what about you, Malika? How have you been? What you up to?
Oh, I've been great.
She'll love that when she hears this back. But yeah, we'll just move on, and Malika will be with us at some point. We are going to be chatting about the games that we have been playing. So JT, why don't you kick us off with some stuff that you've been playing?
Sure. Well, there's been quite a couple. Chief among them, I'd say that I've really enjoyed is Lethal Company, which came out recently, and it's been a huge hit. It's the survival co-op horror game that's came out, and it's kind of like Phasmophobia, but instead of identifying ghosts, you're dropped into a set of planets, and you're scavenging for scrap with friends, and it's very much scavenge the scrap before the monsters get you kind of thing. But where the game changes it up is that it doesn't throw the monsters at you for a while, and most of the hazards you face are actually not monsters. They're like quicksand, or there's a turret or a landmine, and it just has a lot of customization too. Like you can get upgrades for teleporters, flashlights, walkie-talkies, jetpacks, and I think the funniest part of the game is that the premise is that you have a certain amount of days to get enough scrap to pay your quota, and if you can't get that, then they space you because you're in a spaceship, and they just like throw you out into outer space. And I had no idea that was happening the first time, so I was talking to my friend Moon, and I was like, "Hey, why are the lights blinking?" I was like, "JT, I love you. Goodbye. It's like, what? And then we're thrown outer space, and it's great. We can just hear our voices getting like quieter as we're like getting thrown apart. And I was honestly, it's a really demoralizing game to lose because you can have it just there's these runs where you keep all of your progress until you die.
Mm,
So it's like it's really demoralizing to lose, but it's also really funny too. And it's very
yeah,
much a game you can just leave your friends on the island. Like if you have one person in the ship, they can just take off whenever they like. There's no voting or anything.
that sounds like your kind of game. You're the controlled chaos sort of
Uh,
person.
yeah, I very much left with my friends a couple of times. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, proper Agent the Chaos stuff.
Yeah.
I seen on Steam that that's like risen to huge popularity. I think it was sitting like second in the top games in the last couple of days, which is crazy
Yeah,
for.
it's definitely well deserved. It's I still think it's a much better game than Phasmophobia, so I think it'll remain popular for at least a little while. Um, and it's a really funny horror game too, with plenty of the monsters that are really interesting. There's one monster where it'll try to sneak up on you, but if you see it, you can charge after it and it'll get scared and run away. Or there's one where it's like the crying angels from Doctor Who, where as long as
Mm,
someone's staring at it, it won't move. But it's like a giant walking like mannequin, and it's
nice.
I don't know, it's really clever. It really throws everything at you and expects you to just survive, and I've had a really good time with it.
Yeah, and I was wondering just looking at it. I've only really looked at screenshots and stuff. What how much of it was actually horror because it's pinned as horror, but I was like, it doesn't look like a horror game just on the surface.
I would say it's more tense kind of horror, just like some of the monsters are like these giants that you can hear in the background, but you can't necessarily see, or it's just kind of nerve-wracking having to deal with them, or you're like trapped alone in the dark and you're trying to find your friends. And I think because you're playing with other people, that kind of takes away a lot of the actual horror, but at the same time, it can be very tense. And um, I don't think I really have gotten scared from it, but I've definitely got a little bit more nervous. So
Yeah, more of that situational horror sort of thing.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
definitely one I would consider checking out.
yeah,
Too many things.
I would say as long as you have, I mean, with one other person or a couple others, it's fine. But it's very much a group game, so if you don't
Mhm.
have a strong group of friends that can reliably play, then it's not going to be up your alley, unfortunately.
Yeah, it gave me that kind of feel.
Yeah.
I'm a very solitary gamer, so maybe it's not for me in the end.
Oh shucks. I'll see. Maybe that'll add like some co-op AI buddies, but
Yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
you never know. Beyond that, I've gotten the chance to play Dredge: The Pale Reach for review, and I had a fairly good time with it. Unfortunately, I recommend do not play the game on the default settings because I had it on borderless windowed, and that led to my game crashing just about 20 times. And it
Hmm.
was really frustrating, and I was about to write it off as a 5 out of 10. It really needs to be fixed. It has some content, but I don't know what the developers were thinking. But then I changed one setting, and it was fine, and I was really frustrated. But anyway, the game is a glacial expansion to the main game of Dredge, which is a nautical kind of cozy horror fishing game. And
Hmm.
the expansion takes place in this kind of icy, evil North Pole esque area where you're like dodging between like narrow, icy um, narrows, and a evil narwhal that chases after you the whole time. And it's a really short piece of content. Like it's a little bit longer, or maybe just about the same length as all the other Dredge Islands, but it was really good content for what it was worth, and it gave you some actually really nice late game rewards that were great for. I don't know if you're like dealing with like the late game grind of having to gather enough fish to pay for the boat upgrades, and
Yeah.
there's even a teleporter thing that lets you teleport to anywhere on the map if you throw this one thing overboard, basically. Or like you can be on anywhere in the map and you can teleport home, and then you can use Spanish. So you have like a three-way teleport. So basically, it's a panic button, and I really appreciated that. So you don't have to. It can really truly become a cozy game because you can just bail out of any situation without
Yeah.
having to worry about like having to go all the way back there. So
Yeah,
uh,
that's the notion that I got from Dredge whenever I got to the end of it. It felt like they kind of just cut a portion off at the end of it because as someone that goes for a platinum in games, I found that there just wasn't enough content for me to actually get to like all of the upgrades, because you get to a point where you have to really gamify the system to actually get the resources needed in the base game.
Right. Yeah, no, it's exactly that where it's like this, like, okay, here's a way you can cut down the grind without it feeling too arbitrary. And
Yeah.
like the one they gave you this radiant troll net and it just catches I don't know loads of really valuable fish. Like it regularly catch these colossal squids. I had this one funny moment where there was a giant squid that was slamming its tentacle down on me, but for some reason, like at that time, just as it did that, it said I caught that squid. It's like caught colossal squid. I was like, wait, how? This is like a small troll net. But I don't know. It was I think for what it's worth, it was really well done. And if you're a Dredge fan, if you like the islands, it's worth it. It's only $6, so it's not a full standalone DLC, but you know, it's an extra piece of content if you like it. And for what it's worth, I enjoyed it. I just changed the settings. If you have any, I don't know, any compassion for yourself, because dealing with the crashes was not a good time.
One thing I was going to ask is,
Yeah.
probably you didn't do this, but whenever I was reading the kind of press release for it, they said you can jump into this DLC at any point in the game. Could you realistically play it from start and go straight there?
No, I mean, sure you could, but the thing is that the narwhal that chases after you is very vicious, and having to get away from them, I don't think you'd have enough speed, and basically it would just end you in the center, and you probably wouldn't be able to get back to the merchant lady. You could try it and it'd be like more of a challenge run, but it would be very frustrating, and I don't think that's like the best way to approach it.
Yeah,
At
I can.
least, yeah, you at least want to get there like the end where you have some upgrades so you can just feasibly get around it. But I don't know, it's a challenging area. It's definitely like the most challenging island, I think. Maybe between that and the Devil's Spine. So
Yeah, Devil's Spine was a little bit tricky. Once you worked out how the bubbles worked, it was fine. But
yeah,
initially, you're like, "Ooh, this is tricky."
for me it was the redfish that would just latch onto your boat and slow you down, and then the bigger redfish would come and eat you.
Yeah.
No, get away.
No, it's a very well done game, but it does drop off towards the end. So if you're someone that hasn't played the game at all, probably a good idea to buy that DLC along with the game so that there's more content to keep you going from start to end. Because like at the last hour of Dredge I played before I got my platinum and deleted it as is custom, is that I was sitting just quitting in and out of the game, going to the merchant, seeing if she had a research part, and then rinsing and repeating until eventually she had enough to give me all of the stuff I needed. But it was just so dull, an awful way to end a game that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's hard to get past there. But yeah, having that extra piece of content really, I don't know, rounds it out, I guess I would say. So, very much
For sure.
recommend.
Good DLC.
Yeah. Beyond that, oh, I'm really upset that Melika isn't here for this because I played all the Frog Detective games, and you know what? I genuinely enjoyed them.
No, we can talk about those, and we'll be free of her tyranny,
Oh.
her reign of oppression. We can talk about them and be nice to them.
Well, I had a really good time with all of them. I played all of them on stream. I had a blast like doing voices for the characters and just the kind of humor where they'll say the joke and then they'll explain the joke in case you didn't understand it, and then they'll say it one more time just for comedic effect. It was it was hilarious. I loved it. And gosh, I had so much fun. I think some of the best parts were like the fourth wall breaks where they'll say like, "Hey, I guess books aren't factual," and then the developer comes into the game says, "Hey, I know we're saying this is a joke, but actually some books can be factual."
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's a game that is completely devoid of any actual gameplay,
Oh
but
no.
that's fine.
I mean, there's the scooter section in 3, which is actually
Yeah.
it was pretty good. But I'll,
Let's not stretch. It wasn't good. It was appreciated, but it wasn't good.
no, no. Part was like, "Oh, do you get to do like little tricks?" I was like, "Oh no, that's just there for padding." And I I definitely think Frog Detective 2 was the strongest one just because 3 felt like it outstayed its welcome slightly. Like some of the exchanges were a little bit long. They're
Hmm.
still funny exchanges, but 2 is very much they'd establish the character, they'd say a couple jokes, and then you move on to the next character. For 3, I very much got kind of bored with some of the interactions, and then I'd be like, oh, I have to interact with 8 more people. I'm gonna be here a while. um,
Yeah.
the twist fake out at the end, I think I might spoil it a little bit, but there's a fake out credit roll sequence where do you think the game's over and Frog Detective loses and is in jail, and it's like, oh, this is upsetting. And then it's like, oh no, just kidding. That's not the end of the game. And
Yeah.
it was just such a delightful little ending for the 3rd, so I had a good time with that. And God, they're so funny, and I had a really good time with it. I understand her criticisms were right. As actually as a game, there isn't a game. The stickers section is kind of funny, and
That was good.
but I don't. I had such a good time with the humor that I couldn't dislike it. Let's see, it was too funny.
It earns a lot of goodwill just by doing the things that it does.
Yeah.
No, I will say that they're like, I can't defend the gameplay because there just isn't any.
No.
But it's the humor, it's the way it goes about it, it's the stupid design ideas. Like Melika said in the past podcast, there's the little magnifying glass that you get, and there's absolutely no function to it outside of just a very small magnification of what's already on the screen, and it's just brilliant.
It's great. You see all these little things crawling by you. You can just zoom in on them, and it does nothing.
But the game makes sure you take it every single time because you need it. It's essential. And
Oh
what do you
gosh.
think, Malika? Are you on board now? Have you completely changed your mind?
You know what? I've changed my mind. I think Frog Detectives are actually it's a great set of games. Can't believe I said all that nasty stuff.
Wow, I can't believe you've came around. That's fantastic. It really warms my heart, and I'm going to let the developers know that you've changed your mind because that is such a stark difference to what you said just mere weeks ago. Brilliant, great to hear.
Gosh. I hope she listens to that part again. Like, JT, what do you say?
Well, speak of the devil.
Hey,
Malika's here.
like,
Hello. Sorry about
oh,
Just-
Melika, you missed the Frog Detective bit.
Good. For the best.
Yeah, and we didn't impersonate you at all.
No,
Of
not-
course. You realize I can hear the podcast when it's released, right? I know exactly what you said.
No, that's not how it works. But yeah, we were just going through JT's set of games. He's done Frog Detective, he's done
Boo.
Dredge the Pale Reach,
Okay.
DLC, and you did Lethal Company, which is
That's
the
right.
new early access game.
Yeah, and Lethal Company is actually really fantastic for if you like cooperative online horror games. So highly recommend. But
You had lost me at horror.
Yeah. There you go.
it's very silly horror where you're on a spaceship with friends and you can leave without them if you don't want to be on the planet, and they'll yell at you, and it's kind of funny. JT, what are you doing? It's like, oh, bye.
But yes, you are fully caught up, and we do not appreciate your tardiness. But
I'm
you know,
sorry. I blame my laptop. It's rubbish.
Aw.
but JT, do you want to continue?
Sure. I think yeah. No, I only have one more beyond that. It was Graveyard Keeper, which I'm not sure if I mentioned it last time, but
Yeah, I think you
it's
did. I think I've heard of it for
oh,
sure.
I did. Okay. Well, I don't want to mention it anymore because it was kind of a mess. Stardew Valley as farming same, but it's with you're managing a graveyard, and I just got kind of sick of the story and the gameplay after towards the end. But
That's disappointing. I bought that on
That's a
stream,
shame.
or I bought that on sale quite recently, and I hoped it was going to be okay. But
it's kind of interesting to start, but then it becomes very grindy later on, and eventually just the only way to progress is to make a lot of money, and that's just become you have to delve into the farming aspect, ignore the grave digging for a while, and it's very shallow farming gameplay.
That's
I
a
just got
shame.
bored of it. So
bloody capitalism.
They always force you to grind for money. It's like, let me explore and be done with it.
yeah, but I mean, that's some funny bits. I will say that there's this one joke that really got me that I was actually howling with laughter a bit, where there's you team up with a bandit and there's an adventurer coming into your place who's going to I don't know, take care of the cult that you started, and he's saying all right, one quick side quest and I'll be done with it, and then you and the bandit roll a giant boulder off the cliff and it absolutely smushes the adventurer, and
Oh no.
there's just this really cathartic and the blood splattered and everything. You're like, oh god, this is horrible. And then I got the achievement. There are no side quests in real life, and I just thought it was the funniest thing. I was like, okay, that was like good on you, game. That was pretty funny.
That's
But
pretty cool.
beyond that, I know I thought I got kind of pretty bored of the gameplay and story. It's very much a game where you can't quickly progress it because you can only do a certain quest one day of the week out of the 6 days of the week. And so if it's not working out for you, you have to meditate and wait for 10 or 15 minutes to get to the day like that next day of
That's
the
a
week.
bit rubbish.
Yeah, I don't know, it's really frustrating. It's like, I don't know why they had some elements, but
That's a really weird thing to add to a game like
yeah.
that.
I mean, it's got some okay dark humor, but honestly, I don't know if it's really worth your time. But I finished it. I'm done with it. I'm never touching it again. So. And that covers all the games I've been playing for the past 2 weeks.
Sweet.
Wonderful. Well, Melika, you've turned up at a nice time to jump in and tell us your games, but just to be completely nice and let everyone know how you've been, how have you been?
I have been on holiday. So I've been visiting my dad in Tunisia because that's where he lives now. And a bunch of my family live over there. So yeah, I was seeing them. And the best thing in the whole wide world ever happened. So I showed up. And then the very next morning, my dad found a kitten in his garden, like a random stray kitten. And my stepmom convinced him to let the kitten into the house. And so for the whole week, I had this adorable little kitten just living there. And it was such a good kitten as well, because it definitely used to have an owner because it was litter trained. Because I was very worried about that, because my dad had said we can keep it, but if it poos, you have to clean it up. So I was very glad that the kitten already knew how to use the litter box. So I did not want to be cleaning up after it. And she was the cutest thing. I named her Kimiko after the character in The Boys because she's very cute, but also she can be deadly, as my hands are covered in scratches. I'm not sure if you can... No, the camera's not picking it up, but I am covered in scratches, I assure you. But there's just something amazing. No one else could get away with causing me so much pain and then immediately be forgiven because she is so, so cute. And I think you've seen pictures on my Instagram, haven't you, Cal?
I did, yeah, very cute.
She's the cutest thing in the whole wide world. I love her to pieces. This is a bad thing to say. Like, I do miss my family, don't get me wrong, but if I'm being totally honest, the thing I miss most about Tunisia is that lovely little kitten. Because she just sit on my lap and I would stroke her and she would purr. And it's like, my heart is full now. Now I understand how parents feel when they have a baby. This is how I feel about this kitten.
I've got 5 of them floating around here. I know how you feel.
Oh, so cute. But yeah, it absolutely made my week. Unfortunately, though, because I was in Tunisia, it meant I did not have much time for playing games. So my list is very short this week. So I've been playing more Among Us because, as you guys know, I've become obsessed with it. But we've been playing a modded variant of it as well. So basically, it's modded so that the kill cooldown is 0.001 seconds, which basically means the imposter can kill. And it makes a very interesting gameplay because you can still report really quickly too. So the imposter can kill in broad daylight, but they have to make sure to at least separate people out a little bit. Like if they see someone, it's fine. But if someone sees you and then the imposter moves away, they can just report straight away. So the best tactic there is to call communications, because then the guardian angels can't protect. And this modded variant has everyone as a guardian angel with like 1 second, not even a whole second of cooldown. So it's very, very quick. And yeah, it just makes for really interesting, unique gameplay, because usually I suck at being imposter because like I feel so stressed and guilty. But on the 0 second cooldown, it's just the best. Like just kill, get everyone, corral them into communications, and then destroy it. It's fantastic. I love it variant because it's the one time where I don't have to feel guilty about being imposter, because people won't be alive long enough to accuse me, because the game ends after like 2 rounds. It's fantastic. So yeah, so it's a fun little variant because much as I do love the base game, it does get a little bit repetitive sometimes. So it's nice to mix it up a bit, for sure.
Sounds chaotic. I like it.
It is very, very chaotic. I can't lie. And then also on the flight there, I had my Nintendo Switch and I was playing a bit more of Mineko's Night Market. And before I left, I made sure to install the update because I know they've done a patch. And like when the game was first released, I loved the game. The quality of it on Switch was not fantastic, so I was really hoping that the patch had fixed it, and it is not. It's still really, really slow, randomly crashes, randomly freezes, and it's so frustrating because there is so much fantastic about that game, but there's also just a few flaws that really bring it down. Like when I did it, I gave it a 7, but it could easily have been a 9 had it just patched out all the bad things and added in a few more good things. It is very much a good game that's disappointing because it should be a great game.
Yeah. I've seen just because Ella's really taken to this game. I haven't
Yeah.
given it my time yet, but I knew she would like it, so I got it for her. And she loves it. But I was looking at the trophy list just because she had it up, and they're clearly bugged because it's like a 0% of platinum, so
Hmm.
something's bugged, and
Yeah,
that means I can't
does not
go near it.
surprise me. Does because it's on Game Pass, because I've already got a Switch. I've already put like 25 hours into it on Switch. There is no way I'm restarting on Xbox. I'm just gonna leave it on Switch and then hope at some point in the future it patches itself again so I can actually play it and give it time properly. But there are plenty of games I want to play that came out whilst I was away. So I've played a tiny little bit of Dungeons 4. So far, it's looking really cool. I really like it. The graphics have never been the main draw of Dungeons games. Like, they're not incredible. They're basically get the job done graphics. Like, they're not bad, they're not good, they're just kind of there and they tell the story. But the thing that I loved about the previous game was the humor was fantastic. And from what little I've played of Dungeons 4 so far, absolutely smashes it out of the park again. Very, very funny. I love the narrator. He's got like a very, very typically British voice, kind of like Stephen Fry in a way. It's kind of like that kind of like really engaging, charismatic, very posh sounding British voice. I love it. It's fantastic, and it really adds a lot of sort of depth to the humor. The writing again is fantastic, and it's an absolute this game absolutely proves why you need human writers, not AI writers, because AI could not produce that kind of humor, because it's that stuff that's funny that you can't really pinpoint why it's funny. It just kind of is. It's very hard to like explain the humor on it, but yeah, absolutely
you mean
fantastic.
like Frog Detective? Of course.
No, Frog Detective is just bad. AI can easily write Frog Detective. But no, it's really good so far. I love the story. It's because the initial it doesn't have a tutorial as such, but the cutscenes interspersed with a bit of gameplay to just give you an idea of what to do for the first chapter. And the start of the concept for this game is really, really clever. It's a natural progression from the previous game, but it kind of puts a spin on it and completely throws you for a loop. So I'm really excited to dive into it with the premise they've established in that first chapter. Because I was like, oh, yeah, I love that they've done this. This is brilliant. So I'm really excited to get into that properly. And then whilst I was waiting for my laptop to restart, I played some Spirittea for about half an hour, which you said sucked, Callum. And I don't necessarily disagree. I haven't played for long enough to say whether it sucks or doesn't, but what I'm seeing so far is that it is very, very slow and the writing is very, very average. I like I said, it's hard for me to judge it having only played half an hour, but none of the characters seem to have any real personality to them. They just seem to have just lines that say who they are and what they do. It's like, where is your personality? Give me something human about this game. I like the graphics. The graphics are pretty cute, because I don't usually like pixel graphics that much, but this, I like the colors. I like the different, I love the coffee shop. They've got like a little wall of different colors and styles of coffee mugs. I really like that. But yeah, I also tell you what I don't like. You could only save when you go to sleep at night. And it seems it's not letting you go to sleep at night unless you complete the quest, because the first quest is to meet and greet all of the townspeople. And so I was able to greet a few of them, and then the laptop loaded. So I wanted to save and just get back to it. Tried to sleep. It wouldn't let me. And I'm like, okay, I don't like this. So I literally cannot save the game until I complete a quest. So if I get stuck on something and have to go out, I'm going to have to restart. That seems like a really dumb thing. But you've played more than I have, Callum, so you can carry on from here.
Yeah, I can jump in. So first of all, with that quest, that is the only quest that happens in. So that's I can give them credit on that.
Okay, good.
In terms of the way the game plays, it is very slow to start. So they make you do all of this kind of really obligatory stuff, like meet everyone in the town, which would be great if everyone had like something important to say and had some sort of defining character trait. They are all just very weak stereotypes that are defined by whatever job they do in the town or whatever thing they have going on. Like there may be one like painfully shy fella, or there may be just someone that's like a really boisterous, like kind of rogue that travels the world or whatever. And there's just stuff that's just
very
really on the nose.
It's
really one-dimensional, on the nose stuff. So you can't really engage with any of the characters. So then it relies on the bathhouse. The bathhouse is really the main thing that the game revolves around, and that is you going up into the hills and essentially running a bathhouse, which equates to in the early stages, and it really doesn't get any more difficult, to be honest. Taking towels and cleaning them so they're there for the people that, or the spirits rather, that come. You put them into the bath. There is some sort of like puzzle management side to it, but there really, really isn't. It is essentially
Is it like
not.
really easy?
It's basically not putting the same type of people opposite or beside each other. That is all you really have to do to make
That
sure
sounds
that.
really boring.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really basic. So you basically have a set of different spirits, and you make sure that they are not sitting in a position that they don't want to sit in. You can scrub them with a brush to make them happier if they're feeling sad. And then you have to clean tiles as they kind of use them and walk off and give you money.
Is there like a mini game or anything to clean the tiles, or is it literally just pressing a button?
No, it's the same thing as like you have to chop the logs to make sure the furnace is hot as well, and it's just the same thing. You hold a button to make sure it happens, and then once it's done, you go and take them to where they need to go.
Oh, that's so annoying. Why?
Did you know what? Initially, I thought, okay, that's a really good base, but I hope they build on this and they make it much more interesting. And I assumed it was just going to turn into like one of those. Not overcooked, but not a million miles away from overcooked, where there's so many things to do that you're kind of juggling all things. And you kind of have to let some things go or whatever. You constantly sit around waiting for something to do. There are moments in time where you put someone into the bath, you wait for the next one to come along, and there's like maybe a 30-second break where you're just sitting there. And that's okay. It's okay at the very start of the game, because initially you can clean up the bathhouse because it starts off really dirty and you clean it up. Once that's done, there's nothing else you can really be at. So it's just a really poorly optimized way to produce your entire gameplay loop. Like that is the thing that the whole game's centered around.
Yeah.
And it's just dull, and it's really, really hard to actually make money at it consistently and quickly. So you're doing this really poor task consistently and getting no real reward from it quickly.
Yeah.
And the means of reward is you can buy some things in the town to kind of improve your friendship with others. The benefit of that is you get a little decoration for your house every time you level up their friendship, which is it's fine. It's not worth doing for me.
I'll tell you, actually, I was kind of a bit disappointed by the customization, because given how this game is kind of based on Studio Ghibli, and Ghibli has such fun designs, I was at least hoping that some of like the shirts or something would reflect that. But there's like 5 or 6 different shirts that are just different colors, and the customization is so basic. Like I know a lot smaller games that have a lot less hype, that have way better customization. It's not that hard to add in different customization options. Like they could have given a few more like the hairstyles. Basically, there's 2 hairstyles and each comes in like 2 or 3 different colors. That's it. There's 2 top styles, each comes in 2 or 3. It's like, come on. It would take you an hour to add in a few more customization. It's not that hard to do.
I mean, that is true. I wasn't going to pick at it because clearly this, like, it's a one-man team, and they've clearly bitten off way more than they can chew, and they've done an okay job of putting this together, but it's not great. So moving on from the bathhouse, which is terrible, and that's basically half of what you'll be doing in the game, you then have to rely on like engaging with the people in the town and getting to know their stories. None of them are engaging. None of them are fun. Going and doing these like dates with people.
I was going to say, are there like relationship type things in the game?
There are mini games, and you can catch bugs in the town. And you
like
can
catching
fish.
bugs?
It's not fun. It's none of it is fun. And, most of the mini games are so poorly optimized. Like, granted, I was playing on mouse and keyboard, which is not my preferred thing. So I'm sometimes looking down at the buttons and going, oh, okay, there. Like that happens occasionally. But there's a rhythm mini game where you have to press buttons just basically in time with the music. What do you think the key bindings are for that?
I mean,
spacebar or WSAD.
That is what I would have thought, right? The bindings were 1, 2, A, D, and C.
What? Why?
I have no idea.
That's really weird. I don't know what it's going to be on Xbox, but with that logic, it'd be like RB, L2, left arrow.
And do you know, I don't know what it's probably going to be easier on Xbox because you have the controller and everything's very, very easy to get at. But
yeah, I was going to say, especially if you're not used to playing on PC, that's a very weird, like, thing to have.
It's awful. And I was trying to get controller support for it, just plug my PlayStation 1 in. Completely messed up the controls, just couldn't find a binding that made sense.
That's really
I would have had to like rejig my brain just to make it work. So I was like, do you know what? We're just going to go mouse and keyboard. We're going to get through this.
Oh.
So
maybe not worth me playing anymore then.
Honestly, it's really, really not.
Is there anything to do with tea? Seeing it's called Spirittea, and I know there is a tea guy in the thing. Like, do you like make new infusions or something?
The one interesting thing about this game that I could give it, it was actually a little bit fun. There is an RPG maker side to the game where it kind of succeeds, and maybe that'll be up JT's alley. But like it's the only thing that this game really does well. So the Spirittea is a thing you drink at the start of the game, and what that does, it allows you to see the spirits in the town, and you can basically flick a switch and you have spirit vision. And what that does is it allows you to see any ghosts that are kind of hiding in plain sight within the town. It sounds cool, but it's very, very situational. What you'll do is, as you gain more spiritual level in the bathhouse, so you'll serve more and more spirits, then you'll be able to up your spirit level, and then in the town's notice board, you'll notice people saying like something's gone missing and I don't know why, or blah, blah, and it's a spirit, so you have to go and find out what's happened, and then you track them down with the spirit vision. And some of those quests are actually
that
quite
sounds
fun.
A bit fun, at least.
Okay.
Yeah, some of those written quests are actually quite fun, and getting them I thought would kind of up the level of the bathhouse, because then you have more different spirits.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Of different shapes and sizes, and it's kind of hard to fit them in. And I mean, it sort of does, but it almost works to the game's detriment, because most of the spirits that you get at the start of the game are absolutely huge, and you have one bath at the start of the game. So if more than one of those comes along, you can't fit them in, so you just have to send them away.
Okay, so there's not really much strategy to that at all then.
No, I mean, it's good in principle, I suppose, but there needed to be more layers to it. It needed to be done better. I just feel like in the hands of someone much more competent and experienced as a developer, maybe that would have worked well. Like I love the graphics, and the sound design's also really good. Like the ambient noise of the town and just kind of standing still, and all the raindrops or the sea.
See, that's interesting. I wasn't that fussed on the sound effects. Also, I'll tell you potentially what could have influenced that for me is the fact that when I started loading up the game, I was still trying to fix my laptop. Literally, the menu music cuts out after 2 minutes, and then it's just silent. It's not on a loop. It cuts out, and that immediately just grinded my gears. So after that, I was already primed to be annoyed at it. And then I don't know, the sound effects are just too, I don't know, computery. I don't know how best to put it. They just don't. I like ones that sound a bit more natural.
I can see that.
I can eat, and it's like, ugh.
It can definitely go one of two ways for sure. I quite like them, but I can see why other people wouldn't.
It's very retro style, I guess.
Yeah, like JT hit it on the head last week. It is basically calling back to like Mother Earthbound. That's the kind of style they're going for, and they do it really well.
I thought so from what it looked like. So I was like, oh, this is probably going to be that, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think artistically and in terms of like the set dressing for the town, like they hit that like
I do
style.
definitely like the graphics. I think they've done a really cool job with it from what I've seen so far. It's just a shame that I don't know, like I said, I'm really not keen on the pacing of it, but I'll give it a bit more of a try. But from what you said, I won't keep my expectations too much.
Oh, keep them real low, because they're not gonna pick up like at all.
Yeah, well, I've also got obviously we've got Dungeons 4 that I want to play more of, and I've got Coral Island downloaded, so I've got plenty to play.
No, I wanted to hear someone else's opinion on it, and maybe I'll hear more next time, just because you've only given
I'll definitely give it a bit more of a go to discuss next time.
But I was reading reviews, and outside of one from Destructoid, I think I read, that was very in line with mine. Actually, it was a little bit harsher than mine, to be honest. And I was like, yes, you get it. The rest of them, and granted, they're not reputable sites. Like it was maybe Screen Rant or like whatever. Yeah. I'm not really going to them for game reviews, but they were giving it like 8s and 9s. I'm like,
that's really weird.
No, it's not. And you know it's not.
Have they played a game before?
Yeah. I didn't know what they were based on.
I wonder what the average score is on Metacritic. Hang on.
If it's above 60, it's a lie.
I'm going to guess it'll be like 68. What's your guess, JT?
I want to say 72. If some people are giving it kind of 8s.
Let's see. Oh my gosh, 77.
Does not deserve that at all.
Yeah.
That is
so what else
ridiculous.
Have you been playing, Callum?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So that was the one I gave a bit of time to and reviewed very poorly, and it is deserved. So do not play it. Just don't.
I think the fact that we agree kind of points to that, because we rarely agree.
Exactly. We are on the same page. There you go. But outside of that, I played a couple of games on my new Steam Deck. I went and got one. Woo! Just means I can play more PC games now. Genuinely, I bought it so that I can play PC games that aren't on the PlayStation. That's all it's for.
Which, let's face it, is most of them.
Well, for the first year at the very least, yeah. So It was mainly to play Moonstone Island because I wanted to play that, but I just couldn't bring myself to sit here and do it. So I've been playing a bit of that, and it is very Stardew Valley in terms of light, but it's very heavy on the Zelda-esque top-down dungeon style sort of thing. But then it has the Slay the Spire combat in terms of going in and fighting with card mechanics, and it's really good. I like it. I don't think there's as much gameplay as I thought there was going to be, because outside of the dungeons and the islands that you explore, like there's plenty to get on with, and you probably play for about 20 hours, but then you've probably seen everything. I think the core loop is you go and beat the 4 temples based in the 4 different seasons, and it's paced quite well in the sense that you'll only really get through the first one by the time you get to the chance to get to the second one. The second season's already rolled in, so you have the items in the world to do that, and then that vice versa until you get to the end and you go to the Winter Temple and everything's basically there for you to finish the game, or at least that's how I see it. I'm about halfway through, but it's very cool. There are some like customization aspects to it where you can get items from the craft store, and you can kind of build your own like little world, and there's like little pocket dimensions where you can have your little homes, and I don't know if there's a limit to how many homes you can actually have, so I feel like you can just kind of build your own utopia within it if you want. So there's a lot of scope to do cool things within it. I'm not sure how many people have been that engaged with it that they want to, but it's a pretty cool game. I like it. I will probably give it some more time, and I'm glad that I did give it more time than the couple hours I did initially, because I was already thinking, I don't know if this has the legs to be that kind of new Stardew Valley thing. I think it's probably as good. No. I think let me finish that thought. It's not as good as Stardew Valley. It's as good as any kind of replica game that's came out in the last little while. Very, very different.
Like as good as Stardew Valley is crazy high praise.
Yeah, it's as good as any replica that's came out. So if you're going to buy Coral Island, Moonstone Island's just as good, or anything like that. So
sweet.
That is one that I've been playing. And I also kind of did the same for Cuisineer. I don't have a lot more to add on top of what I said previously, although I gave it another 3 or 4 hours. It seems like a bit of a war of attrition where you're just kind of doing the same thing constantly over and over. But the gameplay loop is so good that I don't mind that. So essentially, you're going out into the Hades hack and slash world, and you're getting your ingredients, coming back, doing quests for people, and then going into your little restaurant and running a dinner service in an overcooked style fashion. So it's those 3 things on repeat. If it wasn't for the hack and slash mechanics being quite as good as they are, I would say it is a little bit mobile gamey, and I fell into that trap. but it is pretty good. I do like it, and I think there's enough about it where people will come to this and go, "Ooh, this is interesting." But at the same time, I don't want to say like it's blow my mind sort of game, because I know that it's made in that mobile game sort of structure and then bolstered with those little extras. But it's fun. I like it. And the art style is very cute. The only thing I would say is the load times are pretty awful, actually, considering. But that's the only thing I can really say to its detriment. But yeah, I played that. I also played New Super Lucky's Tale.
Yes, I saw about that.
Yeah, I played that all the way through.
What did you think?
No, I played it in the sense that I play all of my platformers with the sound off and just playing it as a platformer.
With the sound off, but the soundtrack's great. It's so upbeat and cheerful.
Yeah, but I'm an iPad kid, and I'm listening to a podcast whilst I'm playing the game. So,
got to ask, did you play the regular Super Lucky's Tale before?
No, but
so you don't know how much of an improvement it is.
Not at all. But I was quite impressed with there's very few platformers that do 2.5D very well. I think it does it very well.
Mm-hmm.
Things like Tomba and Klonoa, they're my bread and butter. 2.5D is really, really hard to do.
I'm so glad to have someone who actually knows Tomba. Of course, for me, it was Tom B, but still, that was, hardly anyone knows about it, and it was such a fantastic game. That is the game of all games that I want to be remastered. That is the one. I would love to play a remastered Tom B for the 2020.
And weirdly, I think people would buy it, but it will never happen.
I know that's the thing. It won't happen, but it would be so great if it does.
Yeah. But New Super it's really cool. The 2.5D aspects of it are really good. I wasn't super into the mini game side of things. Like, I absolutely hated the Super Monkey Ball kind of ones. Hated the life out of them. Could not stand them because I just don't think they were very like well optimized. I kept on making mistakes. I was like, is that my fault? I don't really think it is. It was
Hang on,
just
just jogging my memory. What are the Super Monkey Ball ones?
so it's whenever you're on a grid and you're kind of just picking up coins in a little maze and you tilt it,
Okay, yeah, another one.
like tilt and table kind of ones. I just didn't enjoy them at all. I thought they were really bad.
Was that the ones where you had to like move the statues as well?
No, they were fine. I like them.
I'll say I like those ones.
No, they were good. In terms of mini games, a little bit hit and miss. And whenever you get to the end, you obviously have all mini games in like the final level section. Some of those for the trophies in particular are quite hard.
Because you got all the trophies. There was one. It was like I can't remember much about it. I know there was like moving rings or something, and you have to like go through this grid in like a certain time frame or something without getting hit. Something like that.
So you have to get through the entire level without being caught because you have to stay underground the entire time.
I'm trying to think if that's the right one. It was like it was in the neon world.
Yeah.
And it was like the grid, and it was like constantly moving and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's the one you're talking about.
That's the one I had a lot of trouble with. And then the other one I had a lot of trouble with was the one where you have to do all the bosses without getting hit. And which one was it? It was the one where you're in like a wrestling ring or something. I think that I had trouble with.
Wrigglemania. That was annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wrigglemania without.
I think it took me a fair few attempts.
Yeah, that was a bad one. And there was also the one with the Instagram cat that you weren't allowed to get hit with her as well, and that was quite annoying too.
Oh yeah, I know the one. Yeah.
What's the Instagram cat? I'm a little bit curious about that.
Oh, she's like super obsessed with her social media personality.
Yeah, it's not a good idea to ask me. So I only know through visual cues that that's the case. I didn't listen to anything that was going on.
Basically, all the villains in the games are like these cats, and like one of the cats, is it Lady M or something like that?
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah, Lady Meow-Malade, I think. Anyway, she's like really, really popular on like social media and stuff. So for her like fight, it's like with cameras and stuff are watching you, and like she's trying to be cool and all that.
So yeah, there was that, and I just think it's a very competent 3D platformer, and from what I've seen of the story or what I engage with it, it seems charming enough. And what I like, there were some times where I was just playing it without having something on, and the soundtrack was actually very good. So I probably did.
I love the game.
I probably did that a disservice without listening to the vast majority.
Give me a quick second. I'm going to show you some fun merch I have from the game.
Oh.
Malika's breaking out the merch, as is custom. Elevator music. And she's back.
I am. All right. So the company do some official pins. So we have got Lucky as a little enamel pin. And it comes in this very fun box as well. Nice 3D box with his backing track. And because we were ordering from America and the postage was crazy high, for free, they threw in Master Mittens as well.
Master Mittens.
So yeah, I've got both. And there's 6 different ones they have. They've got Lucky, Mittens, General Fluff, Lady M, Tess, and Jinx. So yeah, I was very happy with them.
It is a delightful game.
My husband got it as a birthday present a few years ago. I was thrilled.
It feels like a game that would be very good for your streaming, JT, because you could do all the voices.
Oh yeah, it would be.
Oh, excellent.
It's so fun.
I think there's only very small aspects of it that's voiced, as far as I know.
Honestly, I can't remember. It's been like 3 years since I played it. I just remember loving it.
I'll say that's actually a little more helpful too, because that gives you like a better impression of what they're going for the voices.
Yeah.
So it's like easy to like follow that as a basis. But
yeah,
no, that sounds like a great time.
No, I just remember absolutely loving it.
Yeah, I enjoyed that, and it did get a little bit hard towards the end, and I was like, I don't know if I can even be baller, but I got through it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it really ramps up the difficulty because it starts out just like a regular fun platformer, but towards the end, it's like genuinely really tough. Like kids definitely would not be able to 100% that game.
No, like the 3 that I mentioned there, they were tricky. Like
right, it's like they are like some of the achievements are genuine, especially in the final area. A lot of those levels are like really genuinely tough.
Yeah. Yeah, that was another one I played. And then the final one I played that I can fully talk about is Pizza Possum. So I tried that. That was one that Ella actually got for me. And I said to her, I'm going to hate this. I'm actually going to despise this because it is basically like, I thought it was going to be an awful lot like Overcooked, but
I've seen about this one actually. I still remember seeing the trailer for this.
do you know what? It's actually a lot of fun. It reminded
For
me an awful
real?
lot. Yeah, it reminded me an awful lot of. I don't know if you guys have ever played Fat Princess.
No. I don't
No.
know.
Oh, okay. Fat Princess was like a game back in the PS3, but it was really good. Basically, it was kind of like you had to scramble to steal a princess who ate loads of cake and bring her back to your castle. So it was kind of like weird capture the flag.
Okay.
This one, I can't explain it. This one has the same energy, but it's different. So you start at the bottom of a map, and what you have to do is in co-op, run around and eat all of the food in a section to get enough to get a key to the next bit. And all the while you have all of these security guards that are catching you. And if the security guard catches one, then the other can like run and punch them, and then they drop you. And it's consistent chaos throughout the entire level just till you get to the end. And for about 80%, you won't get caught all that often, but they start to like narrow the hallways and get it all like the areas have like 10 enemies into this one tiny room. And what you have to do at the end is get to the top and eat the person's pizza. Like that's the end goal. And hey, we still haven't done it. We've got like 90% through, and we just haven't cracked that last 10% because I feel like you can get through the majority of the game without all that much strategy. And we were not going for strategy. I feel like you do need to employ some at the end, and we're just not willing to do it. It's genuinely so hectic, but I would. As someone who is a curmudgeon for those sorts of things, I can say that it is fun. And if I'm saying it's fun, then everyone else probably will like it.
Oh man.
Yeah, it looks like a very chaotic game, and really silly too. So I love that.
Yeah, Ella keeps telling our pals about like us sitting running through the levels, and the way that the camera works is that there's like a weird like diagonal split where it showcases you on one end of the map and one on the other. And it does it quite well considering like the maps are a lot bigger. It keeps you both on the screen, and as long as you're fixated on your character, you won't lose the track of it. If you try and keep track of them, you'll lose yourself completely. But the camera's done reasonably well, so she wasn't paying attention to me, and then I just shouted at the top of my lungs, "Oh, big cheese, big cheese!" And yeah,
Man.
that was the general energy that I was bringing to it, because I started the game and I was like, oh, okay, let's just give it a chance. It'll be fine. It'll be grand. But by about 10 minutes in, I was like, oh my god, there's a pizza. So yeah, I enjoyed that as well. And the only other one that I will try my best to speak about it without breaking embargo, because I don't know if we'll have another chance to chat about it before the end of the year. But I have been playing a little bit of Turnip Boy Robs a Bank.
You've been playing that already?
Yeah, I have been.
Oh my god, I am so jealous. I would say
Turnip
tell
Boy.
me everything, but you can't.
I can't, and I feel like giving the story away would be me breaking the embargo. But I can
Yeah,
I can
don't
talk
give the
about.
story about. Is it good? Is it as good as the first one?
It's different, and the thing that I thought was going to be an issue going in is I didn't know where they were going to go with it, because they basically turned it up to 11 right at the end of the first one, and I was like, okay, we've essentially fought God. Where can we go from here? And the game, and like, I don't know if they could do another like top-down Zelda style dungeon crawler like they did, like a top-down RPG. So they decided not to. They completely changed the gameplay, and like this is common knowledge, they're going for a roguelike this time.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you head into the bank and you essentially shake people down, get loads of like loot, and then run back to your base, upgrade your guy, and just rinse and repeat to progress the story. And it's done really
Does it
well.
get repetitive or is it really good?
Do you know what? I'm not going to go and say like it's a phenomenal roguelike, because I don't really think it is, but it's engaging enough that I'm like, no, another go, and another go, and another go.
Does it have relics?
Relics. Do you mean like the artifacts that you get and they pop up and it's like stupid stuff that you find?
Kind of relics, as in like basically just stuff that will get you find in a run that will give you a boost for that run.
No,
I
not
love that in a game.
no. It's very simple in terms of its roguelike mechanics.
Okay.
But whenever I played the first one and I played the what is it, the Limitless Line, the train at the
Oh
end?
yeah, Yeah, the train one.
Whenever I played that, I was like, do you know what? They actually have something here, because the base
It
game
was
for the
fun,
first,
yeah.
like the combat wasn't the main focus of it at all. But I was like, oh, but there is scope for them
It
to
was because
actually.
I was gonna say, because like for the main part of the game for that one, I didn't really use combat that much. Like it was occasional, but like it was mostly about the RPG elements. But then obviously in the Limitless line, it's like fight, 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 fight. So it was kind of fun having that kind of like dichotomy in it, where it's like two very separate games within the same title, and I did actually really enjoy that.
No, that it definitely had the scope to do this, and what they've done now is they've changed it. And the main thing that is incredible about it is you now have guns, which is fun. So it's a twin stick shooter now.
Oh, I love the antics of it. It looks very fun and silly. So
Yeah,
I want to.
I'm very excited for it. I loved the first one, so
I can't give much away of the story. The only thing I will say is I don't think the writing's quite as good. Just to compare it to the first one, I thought the first one's writing in the first half really, really fun. And then in the second half, I think it just kind of overstretched itself, got way too convoluted, and it was just a bit too over the top. I don't think they've reined it back in. So if you like the second half, then you probably like this.
I do.
Well, there you go. This will be for you. You'll enjoy it.
Oh. Is the humor as good as it was in the first one?
Again, I thought it was very strong at the start of the first game, and then it dropped off. But it's
the whole way through.
It's got the same vibes. It's the same.
Excellent.
You'll if you don't like all of it, you'll like pockets of it.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I've been playing that as well, and I will continue to until the end, because I imagine it's very short. I imagine I played probably half of it already, and I started last night. So, but yeah, that's everything that I have been playing. And that wraps us up for this section. When we come back, we are going to do a very short games on our radar, because it's coming into December. Nothing happens. So we'll maybe do a little 5-minute section. We'll see you then. Hey, and we are back for the second section, which is games on our radar on the Indie Game Culture podcast. You are already here. You're already listening. Why am I telling you all this? Well, because we are going to be talking about games that are coming out in the next week, 2 weeks, maybe a month. There isn't a lot going on. I'm not going to lie to you. It's December. All of the Game Award nominees are already out. Everyone stopped trying. Everyone's looking forward to the holidays. But there are a couple of little things. JT, tell me one of them.
Sure. Well, there is a really strange RPG Maker game called Knuckle Sandwich that's coming out later today, and it's very much a kind of strange Earthbound-esque game where you're guiding a strange man through a strange island resort, and I wish I could tell you what the gameplay is. I don't know. I've seen a trailer, and it's a bunch of different. Some of it looked like it was Undertale, and then it had a cooking mini game, and it reminded me of like a little indie gem called Air Marty, and I don't know what to make of it, but it looks like it'll be very silly, absurd, and just an all-around good time. Also, it alternates between a pixelated top-down view and a low-poly 3D scenes. So I like that it's embracing its strangeness, and it's not committing to being a certain kind of game. It's very much going to be like a lot of them. So
Nice.
also, yeah, I think on my notes I said it has very weird turn-based combat. So I think that'll be fun to check out, but also might be too much if it's just too strange. So we'll see.
I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think you come for the turn-based combat. I think you come for the strange, weird stories.
I do come for that, and I think I'll get a kick out of it. So that'll be fun. And beyond that, just because I think most of the games I saw were turn-based games, and I think it's fun to play some of those, but just playing primarily those can get kind of old. So I saw that there's a game called Zombies Survival Game Online, ZSGO. I think it's ripping off CSGO, and it's just
and what's that one called again? Sorry.
ZSGO or ZSGO, a Zombie Survival Game Online. It was calling itself, and I think I mostly was drawn to it because I just finished playing Dredge the Pale Reach, and it really emulated that same kind of graphics from what it looked like, where it's you're surviving that setting, and it's mostly cooperative or PvP, and it's base building, trading with NPCs, surviving waves of zombies. So it's more of that kind of same like zombie craze from the like 2010s. That was a big time.
Yeah, it looks pretty basic, but I'm sure it'd be just a fun experience.
Yeah, I just imagine like taking some friends in that game, and looks like there's a free demo, so we could just go in, build some bases, survive against some zombies, and that'd be a good time. But yeah, for the most part, I didn't see a whole lot that I was really looking forward to, or that was just necessarily coming out in the next few weeks. So that was it on my list.
It's the most wonderful time of the year, or so they say. Malika?
Yeah, again, like you say, there's really not that much. Because A, there's not that much, and then B, because I've got such a backlog of games, I'm not really looking forward because I want to get overwhelmed by it. But there are a couple that I'm looking forward to. So there's a 2D platformer coming out called Worldless, and it looks really kind of beautiful. It kind of like uses light to manipulate the world around it. And from what I've seen, it looks like it's going to be like really clean gameplay, really fun mechanics, and I'm just looking forward to experiencing what it is. See, that's the thing. It's not even too much to say about 2D platformers because it's a 2D platformer. They're pretty much one and the same, but it'll be very much about if it is as smooth as it looks in the trailer. And I really like that the graphics aren't just that sort of regular pixel style. They've got like this really interesting kind of light, very detailed, but like minimalist at the same time. Like it's very sort of clean, crisp lines, and yeah, it looks like it should be very beautiful. I'm really looking forward to giving that one a go because I love platformers when they're good. So we'll have to see what this one is like. Then there's another one called While the Iron's Hot. And this is basically you play as a blacksmith who crafts different stuff. It's kind of like an RPG thing. So you're in this town, you're meeting people, you're crafting things that they want. You're like, again, it's nothing groundbreaking or original, but it looks like it should be pretty fun. There's like little puzzles when you're putting the stuff together. And yeah, I like crafting in games. I like RPG games. So I'm happy to give this a try because I feel like medieval is 100% the best setting for an RPG game. Like that is just the best. I love it. So I'm very excited to get into that one. Can't remember exactly when it's been released, but sometime in the next couple of weeks. And then the last one is The Garden Path, which is actually really vague about what it is. Like it just calls itself a slice of life game that you can jump into whenever you like, but you're playing as like you got a garden and there's flowers and there's people you can meet, but it's based on like real time. So you're not meant to play it in one go because there won't be that much to do. The idea is you sort of play like a while each day and you meet new people that come, you gather flowers. And the thing that I liked about it was it's got this kind of like watercolor-esque art style to it, and it just looks so beautiful. So even though I don't know much about it because, like I said, the game page does not really say much at all. It just says a slice of life sim about the joy of gardening, designed to be picked up and played in short and sweet bites. But there's different stuff to do. You can like fish, you can grow stuff, you can trade. Apparently you can make friends with vegetables, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I love the art style. I just think it looks very nice and calm and tranquil. And given that I've played a lot of quite intense games lately, I like the idea of just chilling out and games that don't require too much of my time as well. I like the idea that it's meant to be played just like 15, 20 minutes a day. It's not too much of a time sink. So yeah, I think it looks like quite a cute, cozy game to check out.
Hey, Melika, I have to ask because you mentioned you can befriend the vegetables. Can you then eat them afterwards?
I have no idea.
Sounds
I have
horrifying.
no idea. It doesn't give him much. Does not give you any context for it. It just says make new vegetable friends. So I am very, very intrigued about how that's going to play out because I do not want to be eating my friends. That's naughty.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
How about you, Joe?
I have literally written down one that I know is coming and one that is marked for 2023, which I doubt is coming.
Yeah, actually, that's the truth. That's Garden Path is 2023, but no official release date. But like, there's only like a month and a half left of 2023, so it's got to be soon.
You find that there's some games that really benefit from coming out in December because there's less competition, and if they're not something that's really vying for attention any other month, they might actually get picked up in December. So they're the kind of games you're looking for. Little gems that are maybe hitting a 6 or a 7, and you can tolerate them. That's December for you. But yeah, there's one coming out that I know is coming out, and it's a VR game called Arizona's Sunshine 2. So basically, it's the same sort of thing as if you've ever played like House of the Dead, those kind of things that you find in like movie theaters where you pick up a gun peripheral and you fire at the screen. That sort of vibe. But Arizona Sunshine is VR, and it's zombies. So essentially, it is just basically a zombie shooter where you're not on rails. You're more in a setting, and you're just kind of picking them off as they come at you. So it's just a case of surviving as they come to you and racking up a high score. I don't know how much it's going to expand on the first Arizona Sunshine because that's literally all that it was. And actually, Zombieland Double Tap, I think it was called, was a much better version of it because it put you on rails, but it also gave a lot of other extras to keep you engaged, and it was much more arcadey for my liking. So I imagine Arizona Sunshine 2 is probably going to do a bit more to try and keep your engagement. And the first one was pretty good, so the second one's probably going to be a lot tighter. As long as it has good like gun physics and you point at it and it actually goes where you shoot, then it's going to be fine. And then the other one I have written down, and this is one I've been following for literally years. I've known about this, I think, since like 2019, 18. I really don't know. I've basically seen it in its pre-alpha, and I would love to see it finally come out. It's called Last Man Sitting. Basically, it's a guy in an office chair, but you use the office chair in a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater sort of vibe, and you go around the office doing tricks on your office chair. Like
What?
Basically, it's Tony Hawk's, but you're in an office chair, and how you propel yourself is not how you think. You do it with guns.
With guns.
So you use the gun bullets to propel you, and it shoots you off in the opposite direction.
That's fantastic.
And that's basically all I really know about it, because that's all I've ever seen of it. And I saw on the list of things coming in 2023. I was like, oh, is it finally going to come out? I will definitely give that a go, just for morbid curiosity, if nothing else. It may be terrible, but it could also be very fun. But yeah, that is the only ones I had written down. I also put down Turnip Boy robs a bank in case anyone else wanted to chat about it, but we've done that. And I also wrote down Born of Bread, but I mentioned that last week as well. So yeah, that's everything. I told you it was going to be quick. I told you it's December, but stick with us, because when we come back, we're going to be having a discussion about Game of the Year awards, but not this year's. Every other year.
This is probably one of our biggest discussions ever, I would imagine. Ooh. Except for maybe the genre battle.
Yeah. There's lots of meat on this bone, so stick around. Hey, folks, and we are back for our final section, which is the Game Awards, past, not present. We will be talking about every single year and talking about the indie Game of the Year for each year that's passed, as well as the debut indie Game of the Year, which only started in 2017. So a couple of years will not be with that, but we will discuss that as well. And just to get started, because there's a lot to get through, we are jumping straight into 2014 to give you a rundown of the nominations. And I've just realized that I have not got them up, so someone vamp for me.
So the 2014 nominations were Shovel Knight, Broken Age, Monument Valley, Transistor, and The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, with Shovel Knight winning.
And what do we think, people?
I think I have never played Shovel Knight, so unfortunately I can't jump in on that. But I can say that I did really enjoy Broken Age. So Broken Age is kind of very sort of point and click adventure played between there's two different characters, and it's very kind of secretive about how the two are linked. So I won't give any spoilers for the game because the story develops really cleverly, but you play as two seemingly completely unrelated characters, and the longer you play, the more you realize just how much their lives are intertwined. And it's very, very clever. You can pick up objects in one time zone that will then become sort of useful later on, and vice versa. And you can also choose when you're switching between. So you will reach a point where you've completed one of the characters and you have to do the other, but until such a time you can sort of switch between. So if you get stuck on one zone, you can go to the other. Now, I will admit there were a couple of times where I had to use a walkthrough because it did get a bit confusing, but for the most part, I thought it was very smoothly put together. I really liked the gameplay because point and click games have been very hit and miss. So sometimes they work really, really well. Sometimes I feel bored. In this case, it worked very, very well. I liked the way you moved between the areas. There was enough to interact with that it didn't feel, slow or anything. And I thought the way the puzzles were done was very clever. You could kind of really have to explore your environment and figure out exactly what the characters were asking of you. I guess if I wanted them to implement something, it would be a better way to sort of collate all the knowledge you've gained so far, which is often kind of an issue in sort of quest-based games where you've spoken to a bunch of people and you can't see exactly who said what, and you're trying to remember all the different information that points you where to go next. And then you have to kind of because where it's point and click and you're not just moving, you have to click back, click left, click right to get to the right place, which can be a bit annoying. But for the most part, I think it definitely deserved its nomination. And yeah, I can't actually say too much about the others. I haven't played any of the others for this year.
I can talk about a few. I
was busy studying in uni. I didn't play it. I only had my PS1 back then. So.
what can you do? But I haven't played Shovel Knight either, weirdly enough. But I've heard a lot of good things about it. So I can see why people would have definitely nominated that and potentially see it win. I've also played a bit of Broken Age as well. It's one of those I haven't gave as much time as like it's in that same ballpark as like Day of the Tentacle, Grim Fandango, all of those. And I quite like those, so I'd imagine I would like Broken Age too. Bit surprising that it got nominated in the sense that like people don't tend to go for those games as much as they used to in years gone by.
I think there probably wasn't as much competition in 2014 though, from what I've looked at the other games released that year.
Yeah, it was a bit of a slow year. Like Monument Valley in there, I think that's a weird one because that was.
What is Monument Valley? I haven't even heard of that one.
It's basically a mobile game. Like
really?
It's a very well done mobile game, don't get me wrong, but it's essentially a mobile game. I remember it was being pushed really heavily by people and it was popping up on like Netflix shows and stuff and people were giving it so much time and it's fine. It's not like groundbreaking, but I suppose it was quite groundbreaking as a mobile game, but I don't think that's the category.
Yeah.
I think mobile game had its own category back then, so a bit weird.
I mean, this was the
it
first
does
year,
look quite cute. I do like the look of it from Googling it, but yeah, I can't say anything about it because I haven't played it.
No, I wouldn't say it's like Game of the Year groundbreaking or Indie Game of the Year groundbreaking. Transistor, on the other hand, I've played it and it is very good. It's just, it's your typical kind of super giant or super massive. Super giant? Done Hades?
The one that had Hades, Super Giant, yeah.
Super Giant, yeah. So that's one of their ones. And it's kind of in the same vein as Bastion and Hades, like same sort of thing. But there's a real focus on like sound design and offering like a really cool soundtrack within it, and the story is really good as well. I wouldn't say like it's top of the pile of Supergiant games because I think Pyre and Hades and probably Bastion are better, but it's still very serviceable. They don't really make bad games, so I can see that in there. And The Vanishing of Ethan Carter was very good as well, but it's a walking sim, so it's a hard sell for most people. But I liked it. The one that, surprisingly enough, none of those are my game of the year for 2014. I thought there was a really rude snub because no one put in This War of Mine, which is a fantastic game that no one gave a nomination to.
I've heard of it. Remind me what it is?
This War of Mine is basically a like Soviet Civil War survival game where you are stuck in a civil war and you're just basically a random civilian and your job is to survive by any means necessary. So you need to go into like different districts and you have to choose whether to take this family's food so you can bring it back to your group so you can survive. And it's a really, really, really harrowing game, but it's done incredibly well. Probably one of the best like traditional survival games I've ever played, and it deserved Game of the Year. Like, I don't think there's any competition. It certainly deserved the nomination.
Robbing from the old people was really upsetting. It was like, and then you come back later because there was a thing you couldn't get to, and then now you have like a crowbar or something, and they passed, and you're like, oh, I'm sorry. It's horrible.
But in your opinion, JT, having known that, would you say nomination at the very least?
Absolutely. At least compared to what's on the list, I think that I don't know. It was the survival elements and intermixed with the story being really upsetting, and I don't know, like if you lose a character, it's devastating for your group. It's like, oh, this is really bad. Yeah, it definitely belongs on there. Absolutely.
I think take Monument Valley out. We don't need that. What's the point? Put in This War of Mine. I could see Shovel Knight beating it, but that's the only one I could see beating it. And I was also going to mention as well, like a couple of little honorable mentions. Octodad came out that year, as did Goat Simulator.
It's such a dumb game, but it's so funny. I never played the full version, but I remember was it Game Station back in 2014? Because I can't remember when Game Station, one of the two had like a PS3 install that you could play, and there were like a few different games you could play on there. And I remember Octodad being on one of them, and I remember going into the shop and just playing it in there, and it was being the most ridiculous thing. I miss when game shops used to have games playable in the shops for you. Why isn't that a thing anymore?
They sometimes still do that in like traditional toy stores. But that's
really, I was gonna say because like they use all the video game stores used to have like when you go in, there's like the console with the screen and all the latest games are there to play. And I remember playing Octodad because I'd heard of it. And it was just so dumb and so ridiculous and hilarious. I loved it.
So to summarize,
not Game of the Year though. Not Game of the Year nomination. I was gonna say fun game, not Game of the Year. It's fun because it's ridiculous. It's not fun because it's good.
That in there.
Nah, it's fun because it's ridiculous. It's not good. It's not good.
Yeah, that's fair. So
Young
that is
it, though, and I've got more to say about them later on.
Okay, well, we'll move on to 2015, and the nominations for 2015 were Rocket League, which was the winner, Axiom Verge, Her Story, Ori and the Blind Forest, and Undertale.
I don't know
Discuss.
why didn't
I'm-
Undertale get it. Come on, that is.
I am about to be very controversial. I think Undertale is very overrated.
What?
I know.
Hilarious.
Because I
Insane,
didn't
the
play it
music.
until a couple of years ago, and I'd heard obviously so many good things. Everyone's saying Undertale's one of the best games ever, and I played it, and I'm like, I enjoyed it. It was a good game, but it's not like, oh my god, I'm never gonna get over this incredible experience. It's just one of my games that I file under. That was fun. Next,
Okay.
kind of thing. Like I would never consider going back to it. I know loads of people like play it over and over again, do different kinds of runs,
Yeah.
but yeah, like it was not. The characters were nice, the story was nice, but it wasn't colorful enough for my
But
liking.
did you get all like the endings for like the regular ending?
No, I
with
did
the-
one ending. I did one ending,
Wait,
and that was enough for
you
me.
didn't
I
get
didn't want to
the-
play it.
the
I didn't want to play it
The
again.
pacifist
I did-
ending is something else though, and then the genocide ending is just horrible.
I didn't want to play it again. It was fine. It got a bit dragged on a bit towards the end. I just didn't care that much.
I
I didn't like that final boss battle either. Flowey was mean.
Flowey is something else. I will say.
I really liked Flowey, and I would have got. I was planning to go for a pacifist run, but I didn't realize you could back out of the fight with what's her face at the start, the nice girl, Tamriel. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toriel.
I wanted to not kill her, but she kept on saying, "Go on, fight me." So I just fighted until, you know.
That's the gimmick of it, is that you have to figure out how to not fight her. But
Yeah, and then later on, I was like, well, there's no point to a pacifist now because I've killed one person. May as well kill more of them.
Kill them all, yeah.
I didn't kill all of them either because I didn't realize there was a genocide ending either. So
Plus, it's really
know?
hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like it was, the puzzles were just kind of, they were kind of easy.
I'll agree the puzzles were easy, but yeah, I think that was kind of the point that it was easy enough to
Yeah.
get through. The story is
But
good.
I
the
like
humor, and-
complicated puzzles. Like that's the thing. It
Yeah.
just didn't do enough. Well, like it wasn't for me. It wasn't that interesting from like in just the story perspective. Like it was fine. The adventure part was fine. The combat was The puzzles were easy. Like it's a good game. I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's a good game. For me, it does not deserve the hype at all.
Okay, I will say it has been memed to death, and I went into this game not knowing like the reputation behind it. I just saw like, oh, $5 game on Steam. I'll just see what it's like, and I heard someone
Fair.
sarcastically say it was bad, so it was good in an offhand way. And
Right,
I got into it, I was
right.
like, oh, I really enjoyed
So
this.
you went.
and-
It could be because I had such high expectations for it when I went in that I found it as disappointing. Like I think if I played it without having heard so much about it, I might have been a bit more like I said, it's not a bad game at all. It's a good game. It's just I just think it's very overrated.
Right. I still
Yeah.
like. I'm sorry to say, but I think the pacifist ending is. I don't know how to put into words, but I was legitimately in tears at the end of it. There's this final like confrontation, and then you hug it out with the villain, and it's great and upsetting. And then I set to learning piano to play these songs. I did, and
I love
Ugh.
that. What I will say about 2015 though is I think all the other nominations got very unlucky to be released in the same year as Rocket League. So I don't think you can compete with it. Like it was such, like it's one of those games that's still popular even today. Like I've put so many hours into it. There's so much that that you can play it as a complete noob and have fun. You can play it as like a really experienced player and have fun. Like it's the fact that it matches you as well, so you don't have to play as a noob against really experienced players. I like the fact it has like the rank. I don't know what it was like when it was first released, but I can say there's so much customization. There's all the different game modes. The game itself fun. It takes a while to master, but you can jump straight in. So I think Ori especially got very unlucky because I think in a different year, for example, if Ori had been released in 2014, instant win for
Oh,
me. Ori's a
absolutely.
fantastic game. But I do think that Rocket League was the correct choice for Game of the Year when you sort of consider all the aspects to it. Like Ori definitely deserved certainly something like, I don't know, graphic design, for example, or story would have deserved it. But in terms of as an overall indie Game of the Year, for me, Rocket League was the deserved winner for sure.
I kind of said the same thing. Undertale is definitely one of those on the list where I'm like, it's kind of harsh it didn't get it because there's so many incredible ideas. It's made in a
Yeah.
shoestring budget. Like it was, and I kind of like the underdog story of it just being a complete satirical take on
Yeah.
AAA gaming. And
Well,
just
it was
poking
one
fun at
guy
it.
who made Undertale, right?
Yeah, one guy.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
full
just one guy.
credit to him. Like for one person games, very, very good. But
think
yeah,
it-
for me,
Uh,
it just wasn't.
I
quite
think
as good
this
as the
is
others.
right. So I think it was made with $40,000. I'm not sure if that's right, but
I have
Yeah,
no idea what
it
a
had-
regular budget is, to be honest.
it had almost nothing, and they just It really was just as minimalist as could be, but it still managed to tell all these jokes and do all the stuff with it. And I was very impressed with that.
Yeah. Like I said, it is a good game, just for me, not game of the year at all.
Okay. You are right in saying like there are a lot of strong games on there. Like Her Story is actually really, really good as
I
well.
haven't played that one either.
I've never played Ori myself, but I've heard good things.
Oh yeah, Ori's beautiful. I never finished Ori because I got lost, but what I did play of it, I loved it.
Okay,
That's the thing. Like, it's so. I wish I could finish either of the Oris, but I can't. I always get so lost in Metroidvanias.
All right, I will say Ori is beautiful and really heart-wrenching at the beginning, and I love.
If there's a bot coming,
I'm sorry, Melika, but I think after playing Hollow Knight, my standards were raised through the roof. So I just feel like Hollow Knight is the stronger Metroidvania for that. So I just kept thinking like, oh, well, I liked Hollow Knight a little bit better. I kind of want to play that instead. And eventually, I got annoyed with some of the platforming later on, and I had to back out because I just got a little bit annoyed.
I think Ori actually plays smoother because I think I like it because it's easier. Hollow Knight is way too difficult.
I thought
Whereas Ori's nice and easy.
Was actually more challenging because like the platforming was a little bit more nail biting in some sections.
It's
or maybe I just
but the combat is much easier though.
Yes. Yeah.
It's the combat side of Hollow Knight that I struggle with. I think because I play a lot of platformers, platforming isn't really an issue for me. Like I don't mind grinding a certain section.
And just for a point of reference for the listener, Hollow Knight came 2 years later, so they came to the games both later in the like in the day. Just so you're aware of the timeline.
Yeah, that's probably worth mentioning. I played Ori after Hollow Knight, so that
I didn't. I played Ori I think a year after it, because it came to Game Pass, and I played it as soon as it came to Game Pass, which I think was a year after its release, because that's usually the way it is with third-party ones.
So you played at the right time, so you're...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I just feel like Hollow Knight, the combat is fairly easy to master.
We should talk about this in the 2016 section.
Okay.
No, 2017? whichever year Hollow Knight is.
Yeah, I would save for that.
Just to wrap up 2015, the one thing I would change is probably taking out Axiom Verge and nominating a game called Crypt of the Necrodancer, because I think it should have deserved a nomination at that. Like a rhythm game dungeon crawler that's done as well as it's done. I think it definitely deserves.
There were also a couple of games that I think should have been nominated in 2015. Now, there was one I didn't play, but I've heard a lot of good things about, which is Prison Architect, which I heard was very good. Like, again, I haven't played it, so I can't say for sure, but I'm surprised it wasn't nominated.
I wouldn't nominate it, but it was good.
The one for me that I'm not surprised they didn't nominate, but if I was in charge, they would, is Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes, which is a puzzle game that went way under the radar and shouldn't have done because it's fantastic. So it's this co-op puzzle game that you play, and basically there's got this ridiculously huge instruction manual, and one person can see this instruction manual, the other person can see this on-screen bomb, which has like so many different elements, and that the person who can see the bomb has to describe it to the one with the instruction manual, but the instructions are like so weirdly specific. It's like, if there's a yellow wire, cut the green wire next to it, unless the bomb also has the word yes on it, in which case you cut this, and there's so many different convoluted things. Meanwhile, there's a timer going off on the bomb, so you have to be so specific with your instructions. And it's one of those games that's really fun played in like a party setting where one person's got the instructions, one person's looking at the bomb, and everyone else is just looking at them and just laughing their heads off at how badly they're communicating. And it brings so much fun. It's very cleverly designed. Like, the amount of effort that went into making that instruction manual as clean and clear as it was is genius. Like I said, I'm not surprised it didn't get nominated because it's not the kind of game they would go for, but I think it should have been, and I think it deserved a nomination. Not a win, but a nomination.
Don't quote me on this, but it might have got a VR game of the year.
Really?
Because it started as a VR game.
I did not know that. I did not know that. That's interesting.
I could be wrong, but I
hope
think
it did. It deserves. It definitely deserves some kind of acknowledgement. But yeah, like I said, not surprised it didn't get nominated, but it should have been nominated, just not won.
I feel like that's sorry.
Go ahead.
I feel like that's a game that could like make or break a friendship. Like if you have bad communication and you end up yelling at your friend,
and
the
end
game
up
stops
arguing
and you're
each other
still
for sure.
yelling.
It's like, why did you say that? I said this so clearly. Yeah,
sure.
It's good fun for sure.
Yeah, and the only other ones I had written down, and like they are not to be nominated, but they were good, and they probably missed out, was Soma. I thought Soma was good.
I was surprised that didn't get nominated actually.
And I wrote down Downwell as well, even though it's like very simple, but it's fun. But we move on to 2016, and the nominations for that year is Inside, which was the winner, Firewatch, Hyper Light Drifter, Stardew Valley, and The Witness. I can jump in and say I don't really have a lot to say. I largely agree with everything on that list.
I do. I just think Stardew Valley should have won, but I totally understand why Inside did win, because I think that Stardew Valley, it's like it is the farming sim game now. Like, it's the game that, like, when you think of a farming sim, you think Stardew Valley. And yes, Inside is, when you think of a, you know, platformer, you kind of think of it, but puzzle platformer rather, you think of that. But at the same time, I just don't think it is as kind of genre defining, has completely new and clever and original. There's so many different elements, so many different lore that goes into Stardew Valley that Inside doesn't have. Inside is just one short experience, very clean, where there's not too much to it. Whereas Stardew, you could play for like 100, 200 hours and still discover new things. Like, the amount of effort and love that went into Stardew Valley, I think, is more than went into Inside, which is a very good game, is a very clean game, is just a puzzle platformer. It's a very good puzzle platformer, but it doesn't have the same depth and the same lore as Stardew Valley. Certainly deserves a nomination, don't get me wrong, and I understand why it won. I just think that Stardew Valley is more of a Game of the Year winner for me, personally.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Melika, where I just feel like it has such a monumental impact on the industry, and just eating away so much of everyone's lives that, no, it's hard not to recognize it. It's just such a memorable, fun game. And I get, Inside has the stronger story and it's a little bit more impactful, but I mean, I don't know, just like befriending Linus, growing crops, it just...
Is that the thing? It's like you can do so many different things in Stardew Valley. Like, you can really make that game your own. Whereas Inside, it's very linear. You just do what it tells you to do. And yeah, again, it's like, what, 3 hours? It's not long at all.
About 4 hours to finish it, yeah.
4 hours, yeah. Well, depending how good you are.
Yeah, well, I'm coming at it from the point of view of Stardew Valley in 2015, which is a very different game to what
I was going to say,
now.
I did play it in 2015. I think, yeah, I got it as a birthday present. So yeah, I did play it, but yeah, it certainly has improved a lot since then.
It's very bare bones if you look at it like 8 years ago from now. Like, it's staggering how much content has been added after the fact. Almost,
it's amazing, like, he just keeps on adding stuff to it, for sure.
But yeah, outside of that, that's the only like little niggle. Like, could that potentially be the game of the year? Just for me, I think Inside, there was no one, and there still basically is no one outside of maybe TCR Studios with Little Nightmares that can do a game like that and do it as clean and as well as they can. They've basically carved out their own little subgenre, and only they're allowed to make games because like they're the only ones that can do it well. And I think that speaks for itself. It's and it was maybe a little bit of politics in the sense that they didn't get to give Limbo Indie Game of the Year, so they had to give Inside one.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I will say one sort of nomination snub that I think that other people might disagree with me is Golf with Your Friends. Again, I think co-op games often get overlooked. I like Golf with Your Friends. Yes, it's very simple, but it's so fun. It really is.
I still play it. It's such a ride with a good group of friends.
Yeah, like I feel like not enough people give credit to the games that are those kind of like party co-op type games. And I think Golf with Your Friends was done very well in a way that it's smooth, the physics are there, but also it's enough fun and ridiculous stuff can happen to make it a laugh with your friends, which I think is very difficult to make a game that does work well in a group setting. So, unless it's like really intense and you're really focused, those ones are relatively easy. But those ones where they're fun because they're funny, so hard to get right. And Golf with Your Friends really did. And I think it's one of the definite success stories for Team 17.
Okay, well, let me run through these honorable mentions. You tell me if Golf with Your Friends gets ahead of any of these that were not nominated either. Darkest Dungeon.
Haven't played.
Oxenfree.
Haven't played.
Super Hot.
Haven't played.
Fury.
Haven't played.
Enter the Gungeon.
Haven't played. So
I don't know if it would contend, just because they're two different games. Like, Darkest Dungeon is good in what it's out to do, but is very much, it will waste like a monumental amount of your time. So you have to just accept that. But like, if you want to like a big grand strategy game that's like very themed around Eldritch Horror stuff, it's good. But I feel like Golf with Friends would be a stronger game than that.
No, the only one of those I could see kind of squeezing in maybe for like Firewatch or Hyper Life Drifter would be Super Hot, because I thought it was like technically something very, very, very different and stood out above the rest. But the rest of them, maybe not. But they're good games.
So JT, would you also have given the win to Stardew Valley?
I would have, yes. But again,
I guess that means the indie game culture thing in our corrections. That means starts. So what did we give 2014 in the end? Would we leave it at Shovel Knight?
Yeah, I think so.
And then Rocket League, we agreed, was 2015.
I think so.
But this one, we're changing it to Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see, I get 10 votes.
That's not how it works. This isn't a dictatorship.
Oh, well.
All
I
right. So what
guess
we
we'll
got
just
for,
have to live with that.
yeah. What
I
we got
mean,
for 2017?
Actually,
27.
correction,
Oh.
2015 Undertale. I mean,
Oh.
I won't fudge on that. I will fight tooth and nail for that. I will die on that hill gladly.
We're just going to have to leave it in a mystery cloud. We'll never know.
Fine.
So 2017, we had a winner in Cuphead. We also had Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, Night in the Woods, Pyre, and What Remains of Edith Finch. I thought that this was a robbery because Hollow Knight came out this year.
Read the debut nominations. Read the debut nominations so they understand how much of a robbery this year was.
The debut nominations were Cuphead, Golf Story, Hollow Knight, Mr. Shifty, which I've never heard of, and Slime Rancher.
Right. Slime Rancher and Hollow Knight, both of them. Like, don't get me wrong, Cuphead, great game, but it was just very difficult. That was its main selling point, was like, it's hard. Hollow Knight, like, I spent 50 hours on that campaign, and that was just the main story. There was still so much extra you could do on that. And yes, I kind of sucked, but still, like, the amount of difficulty in those boss fights, I've never played a game where the win feels so earned. Like, it's so rewarding when you finally take down that boss you've been working on for hours and hours. The world is so vast. There's so many different, I can't remember what they're called, the buffs you get, but basically there's so many different ones you can find, and you have to like really fine tune which ones you're using for which fight and which areas. There's so many hidden areas. There's so many different characters. Like Cornifer, oh, I love him. Every time I hear his whistle, I'm so relieved because I know I'll finally get the map and I'll know where I'm going. But there's so much. And again, Slime Rancher, such a cute, fantastic game. I loved all the different slimes you could collect. I loved like breeding them and just not breeding them, like when you make them eat the poop of the other ones. Yeah, I know that sounds really gross out of context, but it's how you turn them into something new and exciting. But yeah, like it was just so fantastic to be able to have my own ranch of slimes, and there's so many different areas you can discover with secrets. The story is really smooth. Like, it's both of them 100% deserved it over Cuphead. And I didn't play Mr. Shifty myself, but it was very popular on stream, and I watched a lot of people play. And basically, it kind of like teleport between areas whilst fighting. You have to be like really smooth and quick with your timing. It was very clever. Certainly deserved a nomination, I would say. But then again, I haven't played a lot of those other games, so I can't say for certain how much it deserved over them. I did watch Matt play Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, which I know was pretty good. So yeah, I don't think it was the nominations were undeserved. I just think it was an incredibly strong year for games, and I think Cuphead's overrated personally.
It is very generous to call Senua's Sacrifice an indie because it was very heavily.
I was gonna say that's actually another point. When I was watching, I did not realize it was an indie when I watched him play it because like it looks AAA.
It was very much Sony backed, that one.
Right.
Very much so.
Yeah.
But it is very good, gotta say. Cuphead, also good. I wouldn't say it's Game of the Year winner
I agree.
for that year.
That's the thing. It's a good game, not as good as the others. I think Hollow Knight should have won it for sure.
I've also played Pyre, and I thought it was great.
Is that the one that's by is it Thunderlotus? Supergiant. Yeah, I was gonna say I knew it was either Supergiant or Thunderlotus. Yeah.
Yeah. But having played What Remains of Edith Finch recently, with the power of hindsight, it's not actually that good. Oh. It's got little pockets.
I didn't want to be the one to say it. Thank you. Everyone's always saying how amazing it is. I didn't even finish it.
I champion walking simulators all the time. It's not that good. It's got little pockets of good.
Boring.
Yeah, so I could definitely see that dropping off. But
did not deserve a nomination.
I'm gonna mention something here, Melika, and you're gonna completely change your mindset on everything. Slay the Spire came out that year.
No way.
Oh.
I completely forgot about that. Right, yeah, no. Slay the Spire, win. Done deal. I can't believe they snubbed that. I forgot. When I was looking for the nominations, when I saw the doc, I was kind of like looking at the years. But because there were already so many things I liked in that years, I didn't even bother to see what else came out that year. But no, that's ridiculous. Slay the Spire, 100%. Yeah, love Hollow Knight. Should have been nominated in the main thing. Yeah, Slay the Spire for the win. Slay the Spire for the win. Slay the Spire for the win, and I'll die on this hill.
Slay the Spire is great. Best.
How did they not get nomination at all?
Yeah, I find that very weird.
Yeah. That makes me angry.
I mean, it was a lot of fairly good games for the most part, like Hollow Knight, and even like we didn't mention, but A Night in the Woods. I thought that was like a fairly strong story-based game.
It's one I've never played, but I've heard.
That's one I keep meaning to play and never get around to.
It's
having seen like screenshots of it. I was sitting trying to figure out what Fall of Porcupine was trying to do. That's exactly what it was trying to do.
Absolutely, it was Night in the Woods without being Night in the Woods. So Oh, my microphone keeps cutting out because I'm so excited to talk about it. But
I was just
man.
gonna say,
yeah,
the
sorry.
only other one that, and I don't know if you would call Larian Studios indie, you certainly wouldn't now, but at the time you maybe would have. Divinity 2 came out that year as well.
I
Never
don't know if
played
I
it.
would call that indie. I just, I mean, just because of Baldur's Gate 3, I really don't think you call that an indie game now, just with
Yeah.
kind of content. But
It's very much an on the fence one.
yeah, I just feel like Cuphead. I said in my, it feels kind of hypocritical to say, but in my Lords of the Fallen review, I said a boundless appetite for Souls-likes, but I felt like Cuphead was just too hard in a way I didn't like because you had to,
Mhm.
just the way you fought the bosses wasn't what I was accustomed to because I prefer that kind of hack and slash combat. And I don't know, Hollow Knight just does it in a way that I really enjoy, and that expert blend of grim darkness and just really cozy, cute characters. Like I think great example is Grubfather, where you're rescuing the grubs and they do a
Oh,
little dance, like
gross.
and then
I love
you
them.
rescue them all, and you see Grubfather, and he's eaten all of his children, and you can hear them inside of his belly, like dancing around. It's horrible.
Spoilers.
Oh, it's been years. It's been
Well,
years.
this is it. You can take my critical point of view. I don't like Metroidvanias. I don't like Hollow Knight, but I know it's the best one.
Okay.
Actually, now I've got over my initial rage of Slay the Spire not being nominated, I will accept that Hollow Knight should have got the win. But Slay the Spire should have been nominated short and easily
Yes.
second place. But yeah, no,
Absolutely.
Hollow Knight should have got the win. Now I've got over my just righteous rage that Slay the Spire wasn't nominated. Hollow Knight, yeah, it should have won for sure.
There
The
we
fact
go.
that it didn't even win Best Debut makes me angry.
We're united on one of
United
these
on
at
this.
least.
Yeah, we go.
We move on to 2018 in that case then. So for the initial ones, the indie game of the year, not the debut, we have Celeste as the winner, Dead Cells, Into the Breach, The Messenger, and Return of the Obra Dinn. And then for debut, we have The Messenger that won, Donut County, Florence, Moss Book 1, and Yoku's Island Express. I largely agree with pretty much everything on this list.
Yeah, I don't know, I feel like Dead Cells was good, but it wasn't that good enough to warrant Game of the Year. But I feel like it's okay that it made it up there. It's so mean in some sections where you die and you lose everything for its roguelike. And it's like, oh, well, there goes an hour or two of my progress.
I'll tell you a game I'm very surprised wasn't nominated that I didn't personally play or like, but I know a lot of people did, and that Subnautica was released that year.
Oh, wait, why didn't Subnautica make it on there?
Yeah,
Subnautica was a
Subnautica was
fantastic game.
crazy popular and very, very good. It was just too scary for me, so I was very surprised that that wasn't nominated. Also, as someone who absolutely loves Donut County, did not deserve a nomination. Like, it is a fact. I love Donut County. It is one of my favorite. It's my favorite game I've played purely to get game score, but it is a 2-hour game with a super basic premise that I love that it's getting acknowledged, but it's not game of the year style. It is just very much basic indie that's a lot of fun, a joy to play. But yeah, like I played it to get the gamer score. Like it's not incredible by any stretch of the imagination. And it's not trying to be either. I'm so surprised it even got a nomination.
I have a fun story of Donut County. It was made as a game jam game off the back
That does
of,
not surprise me for a second.
but it gets even better. It was made off the back of. Does everyone know who Peter Molyneux is?
Yes.
It sounds really familiar. Hasn't he?
He's the man who made Fable and then made a series of terrible games after he made Fable. And his whole stick is that he just wants this like world where everything happens and overcomplicates everything, and there's so many things going on, and it couldn't work as a game. He just high concept everything was his thing. So there was a thing in 2012 where they done this one and done game jam, and it was called "What Would Peter Molyneux Do?" And it's based on a Twitter account where it auto generates game concepts from the mind of Peter Molyneux, and the game jam entries would have to take a tweet from that and make the game.
That's amazing, actually.
Oh my god, I love that.
So that's how that came about, and I thought.
Do you
that
know
was
what the
amazing.
prompt was for it?
It was something like a game where a hole eats certain parts of the environment, and they just kind of branched out from there.
Yeah.
Something.
Okay.
But yeah, have you played Donut County, JT?
I've seen enough of it to understand what it is, where it's
Yeah.
like you play
It's basically like you have a hole and you make it bigger and bigger and bigger by consuming more things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
literally
like
it.
the
And there's like raccoon uprising happening, all sorts of stuff
It
going
is very
on.
Katamari Damacy in reverse.
Okay. Right.
Oh no, I had a blast playing it, but definitely. But game of the year should have been Yoku's Island Express.
Oh no, it shouldn't have.
Yes, it should have been.
It's good. The thing that I had, it was a struggle in both of these. I largely agree, but I had this kind of internal struggle for both. Celeste wins, but Return of the Obra Dinn is so good that I felt sorry that it didn't win.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the
I've
same
never
thing.
played Return of the Obra Dinn. I played Celeste for an hour or two. Didn't like it. It's just a platformer.
Shocks me.
It's just a platformer. I
It's
played
not
so
just
many.
a
It does not
platformer.
stand out for me.
It's one of the
It's the best platformer.
You know, everyone always says that, and I was really excited to play it because I'd never played it before. And then I played it, I was like, why did everyone say this is the best platformer? It's not. It's just
You're going to bring up Cal the Kangaroo, and I'm going to move on. So,
Also, I want to mention. Oh wait, Return the Obra Dinn as an art form. I think that as a detective game was really smart. And again, I still think Celeste deserves it, but Return the Obra Dinn, another year could have easily gotten it.
that's what I mean. It was.
Ew! I've just googled it. I hate the art style.
It's one bit art style.
Oh, horrendous.
It's fantastic.
If
And
it's
I
between those two, then yeah, I'll give it to Celeste.
yeah,
Ugh.
okay.
At least
And then-
Celeste doesn't look gross.
In the debut category, I had the same feeling about Yoku's Island Express and The Messenger, but having played The Messenger now, I'm like, no, that definitely wins. But I love
What is the
Yoku's Island.
Messenger?
It's the game that the guys from Sea of Stars made before Sea of Stars, and it's
Right.
ninja platformer sort of thing. Very good. But yeah, that's
I
kind
would,
of
I would still want to give it to Yoko's Island Express because it's one of the most joyous experiences I've had playing a game. Loved it. Really, really enjoyed it. And it's just such a unique concept. Who thinks I'm going to play a platformer where you play pinball? Genius.
It's very clever, but the novelty does wear off, and it becomes very hard to navigate sometimes. And that's the issue I had with it. Just like you have to work very hard to get to the place you want to go to.
Earned. It's all earned, is what it is.
Well, I think
I feel like I'm not going to get through. So you guys just give your Celeste winner and let's be done with it.
Well, I think that's absolutely done. No one's going to top Celeste in that. Like, I could see Yoku's Island Express getting given debut over The Messenger, just based like my opinion wouldn't be that, but I could see it.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, JT?
I mean,
Yoku's Island.
I think I might have to go with Yoku's Island for a debut.
Yes, victory.
No, it is. It reaches that par, and I haven't played The Messenger, unfortunately. And it's just I have loved Sea of Stars, and honestly, after playing The Messenger, I might like it. But I think as a debut, Yoku's Island probably get it.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's definitive. That's fine. Speaking of definitive, we're moving on to 2019.
Yes.
So
Okay. Now
Let me just stretch ready for this.
this one, it doesn't really bear mentioning. We could move on to 2020, but I mean, we'll just do it anyway.
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm ready.
So,
let's go.
2019's Game of the Year, Disco Elysium was the winner. Baba Is You
Deserved.
also in that category with Katana Zero, Outer Wilds, and Untitled Goose Game. And then we have in the debut section, Disco Elysium, which won again, Greece,
Good.
My Friend Pedro, Outer Wilds, and Untitled Goose Game. So everyone's agreed Disco Elysium won, and we can move on.
We all
Yes,
know how JT
right?
feels about Disco Elysium.
Oh,
we all know how you
don't
feel
you
about.
dare.
But you know what? We don't know how everyone feels about Untitled Goose Game. We should have been.
What is it doing there?
If you're going to make the argument, please make the argument for Outer Wilds. Don't go Goose Game.
Right.
What?
Yeah. Which one? Okay, if we go to which one did I like the most, Untitled Goose Game was fantastic, but also it was like £14. It should not have been because it was a 2-hour experience. If that, one of the most iconic games of all time. Like someone says honk, and you immediately think of Untitled Goose Game. It's one single honk, and all those memories are triggered. It was so funny figuring out how to do everything. It's one of the funniest games I've ever played. Fantastically clever, so smooth. But yeah, I guess not quite Game of the Year. But Outer Wilds, on the other hand, that time loop was genius. There were so many different areas to discover. You had to like collate your knowledge. It's one of those games you don't do first run. You have to really earn that win. And it's such a clever gameplay.
All right,
It's no Untitled Goose Game, but
Literally any other year, it would have won.
yeah, for sure.
So Outer Wilds is great.
Well, not
don't get me
actually
wrong.
say
The
that.
time
Not
loop-
any other year, because there's a lot of other good ones in 2020, which we're about to get to.
Oh boy. Outer Wilds is great. great time loop concept. Some of the horror and sci-fi elements were really good, and it just a great ending. And I still listen to the music occasionally. But what other game lets you play as a neoliberal communist hustler, do a karaoke and do some wild dancing, and just play as a complete failure of a man?
I
would
wonder if we'll
argue
ever
none.
have. I wonder if we'll ever have an episode where JT doesn't just absolutely simp for Disco Elysium.
It's such a good game. How can I not talk about it?
In his defense, this is the one time that he's.
I was gonna
been-
say he's at
he's
least
allowed.
prompted this time.
People deserve to know.
All right, I'm
Oh,
not even gonna fight this. Let's
okay.
let Disco Elysium win.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Good.
I don't think I had any. I did
actually,
want.
Wait, were you gonna mention Gris at all?
I was going to mention what year am I? 2019. I was going to mention Pathologic too, because no one else
No,
will.
Oh, yeah.
no, none of that.
Is there
None
some
of this.
messages?
Get out of here with that nonsense.
But it's so awful. It's great.
But it is great.
Yeah, it's the game of
It
the
is
year,
also
not the worst game you've ever played award.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no.
Moving
Uh,
to 2020.
No,
Okay.
I've got one more, and I think you'd be on board for this one.
Okay.
A Short Hike came out in 2019.
Ah,
Oh.
it should have had a nomination. It shouldn't
Yeah.
have won, but it should have had a nomination.
Yeah.
It was very cute.
Also, Gris was good for what it was doing. Like I played it recently.
You guys know how I feel about Chris.
I think it deserved a nomination, but no, I wouldn't pick it as a winner.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that we all agreed that Disco Elysium was great together. of
I
our own
can't
volition.
disagree because I've never played it. So
Okay. All
Well,
right.
then, maybe we all need to sit down in a joint stream. Me and JT just sit beside you
Yes.
whilst you do it
That
begrudgingly.
would be so much fun. Oh my gosh.
oh my gosh.
And you could pick all the centralist views and we could laugh at you.
Laughable moralist.
But we will move on to 2020 and move away
Let's
from this
do it.
Disco Elysium.
Oh,
Let's do
fandom.
it.
Okay.
Don't give JT any more time.
No, I need more.
What were the nominations in 2020?
So we had Hades as the winner, Carrion, Fall Guys, Spelunky, and Spiritfarer. And then in the debut, we had Phasmophobia, Carrion, Mortal Shell, Raki, and Roki.
I will say that I think all of them were very, very unlucky to be released in the same year as Hades, because there is no way anything was competing with that. Especially Spiritfarer was very unlucky, because
Yeah.
Spiritfarer I would absolutely give the win to, were it not up against Hades, which is just absolutely definitively the best. And I'm pretty sure, didn't Hades win Best Game of the Year as well as just Best Indie Game of the Year?
It sure did.
Has that ever happened before in the indie ones?
I think Journey won Game of the Year in 2012, but there was no indie category.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I was going to say, like, it was Hades. My favorite fact about Hades is the fact there are 300,000 words of dialogue, and to put that into context, a novel has 60,000. So it has like 5 times as much dialogue as a novel
That's
in the game. Like, you can
insane.
play over and over and over again, and you're always discovering new dialogue. There's so many different, like, the algorithm tree. I watched like this documentary on it on YouTube of the algorithm tree for when it's deciding what to say, and there are so many different factors that go into deciding which character is going to say what to you and when. The characterization is superb, the gameplay is superb, all the different combos you can get. There is not a single flaw about that game. Like, that is just absolutely fantastic. Blown it out of the water. You can't lie. It's
No. Here's
winner.
something I'm going to do, and it's not even for my enjoyment, it's just for fun. This is like me dropping a little bath bomb into the bath. JT, do you know what came out? Amori came out that year.
What?
Nothing
No!
But I'll tell you what was snubbed and that makes me genuinely angry in 2020. Bog Snacks came out that year.
I also
All
have
right.
that down.
Carrion does not deserve to be up there as much as Amori. What the heck? That is an
Well,
outrage.
That is something I also wrote down. Having played Carrion is punching in that category.
I was like, I haven't played Carrion, but I haven't heard that many good things about it.
It's like an okay Metroidvania. It's not good.
Okay, it's awful, Callum. It is just you don't know where you're just supposed to go. The gameplay gets so old after a while, and it's just it feels so clunky and weird. It's strange and frustrating, and I
Oh
hate
man,
it.
This is the reaction I was aiming for.
I don't
I'm
know
happy.
anything about Amori though.
Amori will tear your soul apart. It's so good. It's that expert blend
Oh,
of
it's that
cozy
little
horror.
hand-drawn little boy dude.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 'cause the art style is phenomenal. Oh my! I need to keep turning my microphone back up. It keeps cutting out, but
I was just going to cut you for a bit.
Oh, Mori is just okay. The turn-based comeback can get a little bit old, but the story is so good and it's so beautiful. And why did Carrion get on there? Mori
I'm so glad I did this.
Yeah, like I said, like for me, Hades is absolutely the winner, and Spiritfarer is the runner-up. But Bugsnax not being nominated is a total snub. It was such a fantastic game, and it was like so well received, so popular, so much hype. I don't understand why it wasn't even nominated. It makes zero sense.
I mean, I would if it was a debut game, I'd throw it in the debut. I wouldn't put it in the main category.
Yes, it deserves in the main category. It's fantastic. It's so good. There's so many different bugs. It has its own theme tune, which is a really good theme tune. And it's just got everything about it is fantastic. You have to really think about how to collect it. The story is genius. The story is the twist at the end. It's just, I love it. It's fantastic.
Okay, well, here's how I feel about it. I think Spiritfarer was the winner. That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
I can definitely understand. Like, I'm never going to argue against Spiritfarer winning something. It's just the fact that I just think Hades deserved it a bit more. I would have been equally as happy had Spiritfarer were. I wouldn't have been like, oh my gosh, I didn't deserve it, because it's a situation where they both absolutely deserve Game of the Year, and it's literally flip a coin to decide which one gets it. But I think if it was just story, then Spiritfarer would get it. But it's the fact that Hades just has absolutely everything. It's got the story, it's got the gameplay, it's got the replayability, it's got everything. Whereas Spiritfarer, it's got the most beautiful story, it's got fantastic gameplay, it's got replayability, but not as much because you already know what's going to happen. And I think the beauty of Spiritfarer is the not knowing, is the fact that you discover it all at the same time as spirits, you learn about their journey, and it is very much, it's an experience as much as it is a game. It's something that will stay with you forever. Like, I played Spiritfarer not that long after I was in the sort of very deep grief at the time, and it really helped me get some closure on it. And I think because of the way it's so clever about the way it explores grief and the way it explores connections between people, it was certainly very, very good for me getting closure on that. And I don't think any other game could offer such a personal experience about what it is to, lose somebody, to sort of have someone close to you in your life and then them depart. And so, like, the way we learn about all the different characters and all the different ways that grief can manifest, it's just so beautifully and intricately done. That, like I said, if it had won, I would not be saying, oh, that should have gone to Hades. But it's just the fact that Hades did win. I can't say that Hades didn't deserve the win, because it did deserve the win. They both did.
I get it either way. I feel it's fair. And also, I recently bought I think it was the IGN Humble Bundle, which had Spiritfarer amongst other things in it. I thought it was decent value, so I was like, I'll grab that.
Yeah.
But I already had Spiritfarer, so I gifted it out to someone, and I kind of feel weirdly guilty that I did, because I haven't warned them about the gut punch it is.
Yeah, it's I'll tell you what, Atl especially, I never quite, without giving spoilers as to what happened, I never quite got over that. I was like, how could you do this to me? How could you do this to me?
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I don't really have a lot of opinion on the debut Game of the Year, but
same as in, like, I know Phasmophobia was popular. I don't play horror, so I'm happy to give it to that. I don't care.
Amori was so good. The story
was Amori a debut?
I'm not sure, but I know Amori definitely deserved a nomination there somewhere.
I'm tearing my head. Callum, I'm going to be angry the rest of the day.
That's
how I feel about Slay the Spire.
And there are a couple of other ones just before we move on. I also put down The Pathless, which was okay, probably didn't deserve a nomination. Paradise Killer, which I think is very good and underrated. Factorio was that year as well.
Oh yeah, Factorio was great.
And Monster Sanctuary.
Oh, JT, for the tiebreaker then, for the overall winner, Hades or Spiritfarer?
I guess I want to say Spiritfarer, but I'll have to go with Hades because it's the better appeal.
That's the thing. Like, they both would have been great, but I think we'll stick with Hades.
Again, if story, emotional impact, then Spiritfarer, but just in terms of spirit gameplay, it's going to go to Hades.
Yeah,
I am biased. I don't like roguelikes, really, so that's where it comes from. But we move on to 2021, and this is a big year because I have quite a lot to talk about.
This is very interesting.
So these are the nominations for the Game of the Year. It was Kenna Bridge of Spirits, which was the winner. Then we had 12 Minutes, Death's Door, Inscription, and Loop Hero. And then in the debut, we had Kenna once again that won, Sable, The Artful Escape, The Forgotten City, and Valheim. So I'll just jump in and start ranting. Awful decisions. Kenna was not an indie to begin with.
Secondly, it was, wasn't it?
It was a debut
It was
studio.
Ember, it was Ember Studios.
Yes, but it was so backed by Sony. Like it was marketed out the wazoo by Sony.
It didn't feel AAA. It felt indie.
It was. It's really much. It's very on the fence. Okay, if you want to call it indie, we'll call it indie. It was still not Game of the Year.
Oh, wait, I was say, jumping in on that. Speaking of someone who absolutely loved Kino Bridge of Spirits, it was not Game of the Year.
No, it was not. It was a.
It was nomination worthy for sure.
Yeah,
but
it was
not winner at all.
A decent platformer with terrible Souls-like combat and cute little.
Yeah, the
rock
combat
people.
definitely let it down.
Yeah, it was poor, but it was a decent enough game.
Yeah, I loved the exploration aspects of it for sure. I liked the puzzle aspects of it, but yeah, the combat was. Yeah.
Of those, I believe Inscription is the hands down winner, and I don't understand how that wasn't the case.
Also, I haven't played
I
Inscription,
agree
but I've
with
heard so much about it.
It's just really clever for some like the things it does, and really traumatic for some of the more grisly sections that I don't know if we can really talk about on a podcast.
It's just it's very similar to Slay the Spire, although it's very different in the way the card system's set out, but it kind of has the same sort of structure for the first half, and then the second half it goes in a completely different direction. But it's something aside from maybe the pseudo horror stuff you would probably like, Melika. It's very much up your alley in the card based sort of side of things. But yeah, I thought that was a nailed on winner. I thought Loop Hero also was in with a shout. It's very, very clever, even though it is somewhat of an idle game.
Play that one.
I don't wait. Have you played it, Callum? I feel like after playing through it, I just walked away from it very like lukewarm.
I went to Google it and I typed in Loop Up.
I get that in the sense that you're not super involved with Loop Hero, but I just thought it's very clever. It's incredibly clever.
Okay. I don't know. I finished it, and it's just such a big and time investment, and it just kind of felt, I don't know, kind of like a waste. But
looking at the graphics, doesn't deserve Game of the Year. It looks like it was made in 1990.
It was very
that's
retro.
The vibe. That's the vibe.
Yeah, but it's a bad vibe. It's not a Game of the Year vibe.
Okay, well, I thought it was quite good, but I can understand the criticism.
I feel like the Game of the Years were in the debut section, though. Like,
well, this is what I was literally about to say. The Forgotten City should have been in.
Exactly. Forgotten City.
Yeah.
There we go. Forgotten City. Genius. Like, I didn't play that one myself, but I played it along. Matt was playing it, but because it's one of those games that's very sort of decision heavy,
Yeah.
I was basically playing it with him. And like, it's so clever. And the many will pay. The many will suffer for the sins of the one. That booming overall voice is so genius. It's so like you really feel it in your bones, and it's so scary when it happens. You're like running, racing back to the start. It's just so clever. Such a genius concept. Really cool sort of philosophical elements to it as well. Like it really makes you think and really stays with you. I love how it came about as like sort of initially intended as like a mod for Skyrim,
Yeah,
and it
I
developed
played
into its
that
own
mod.
thing. Like it's brilliant. It's so clever.
Yeah, even as a mod, it was really smart. It's like, wow, this could like do
Yeah.
on its own, and it did. And I was like,
And the fact it had so many different storylines running at once, like you could easily play through that and not even realize all the stuff about like the is it Roman gods in that or something like that? In that one?
Roman,
Yeah.
Greek, Egyptian, and then
Yeah.
Sumerian.
That's the thing. It's got all those different like gods. You could easily play it and not even know that they are there. Like there are so many. I think it's 4 different endings, but there are plenty of ways to get those endings.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
one of the endings is go in, shoot someone. And
Exactly. Because Matt was missing one of the endings. I was like, "Have you tried just killing the dude?" And he's like, "I don't think you do." I was like, "Let's give it a go." When we got the last ending, he was literally coming in, killing him, game over.
Yeah, but yeah, it's very, very clever.
It's so clever. It's absolutely brilliant. Should have been Game of the Year.
And to kind of give it its spot, see 12 minutes, it's crap. It's
Yeah,
just-
exactly. It's
Yeah.
12 minutes. I was so looking forward to it. It seemed so good. And then you actually play it, it's like, oh, that's not good.
also the reveal is so gross. I don't know if you both know what happens. Like, I spoiled it for myself. I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't
finish
play
it.
this. I don't know if I
It
should
It
say
just wasn't
It's-
worth it to me.
It's pretty nasty. Basically, can I spoil it for stream?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spoiler alert, skip the next 10 seconds.
There's some incest. It's that
Ew.
this twist is that your wife ended up being your sister, and she didn't know, and
Oh.
you made yourself forget. And,
Wait, and you did know, and then my
no,
gosh,
you made yourself
that's
forget,
creepy.
but then you remember.
You knew,
and
you
you're
knew,
like,
you knew, and you chose to forget rather than leave.
yeah. And,
that's
and
creepy.
she's having a kid, and you're like,
No,
yeah,
that's so bad. Why?
it's pretty bad. And then the
Who
guy who
decided
was
that was the good idea for it.
the guy who was breaking into your house ends up being your dad, and he's killed you several times, and it's like, oh, sorry, son. And it
That's
just
so
ends, and I'm like,
weird.
Annapurna had some real stinkers for the last, for like those 2 years. So
That's
was-
so weird.
It did not deserve to be on this list, and it was just
No.
yeah, that definitely makes a space for anything you want to throw in there. Also,
Artful Escape should have been nominated in the regular indie category, not just the debut category. It shouldn't have won. Don't worry, I'm not going to argue it should have won, but it did deserve a nomination.
yeah, I was also going to make the point that Valheim is still in early access today, so I don't understand why it's there.
Early access games definitely don't deserve nominations.
Not until they're done. No,
I agree.
Because then you create a paradox where they come through the year they're done and win again.
Exactly,
So it's stupid.
exactly, 100%.
And I will not give it any time, but we all know how I feel about the Artful Escape and how pretentious and stupid it is. So don't know why.
I
It's
also
there.
say other games that were released that year should have been at least acknowledged. Little Nightmares 2 and Chicory.
Chicory.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
Chicory. Oh, I was gonna mention its predecessor, Wander Song. I forgot what year it came out. I know
Wonder Song is a good. I wouldn't necessarily put it as Game of the Year nomination.
okay, maybe not Game of the Year, but it's a really sad and
Oh, it's a good. Don't get me wrong. It's not a bad game at all. It just wouldn't necessarily think it deserves to fight amongst the big guns.
yeah, I guess so. But
It's one of those
yeah.
games that I would recommend people to play, but I wouldn't say, "Oh my gosh, this is like the best game you'll ever check out," kind of thing.
Okay.
There's a lot of strong games in there. There's some that could probably just drop off in favor of some others. There was a couple I wrote down outside of Chicory. I wrote down Wildermyth, Before Your Eyes. Omno was that year as well.
I completely forgot about Omno. Oh my god, yes, Omno. What? Yes, 100% for best debut.
Unpacking was also that year.
Nah,
Genesis Noir, The Ascent, and Toem.
I like not Game of the Year, but Omno on the other hand, definitely at the very minimum nomination in debut. The only reason not is because I don't think it can quite fight out Forgotten City, but still, like the fact that it's not even nominated is criminal.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And with that, that moves us on to the final year, 2022, people. So in the nominations for 2022, we have Stray, which was the winner, Cult of the Lamb, Neon White, Sifu, and Tunic. And then in debut, it's basically the same with minor changes. Stray, Neon White, Norco, Tunic, and Vampire Survivors. Stray shouldn't have won that.
Everyone was
Tunic
cat.
have.
I don't
Yeah,
know why.
That's essentially what I wrote down. Stray was just okay. We all got a bit carried away.
Yeah, again, because I played Stray for the first time this year because it only just came out on Xbox, and again, I was really excited for it. I love cats. I love good games, and it was a good game, but it was not what everyone was saying it was. Like it was like this is just like I was expecting proper platforming, but you just walk up to it and press A. You don't actually jump as a cat. Like I feel like one of the best parts of having a platform as a cat is those cat-like movements, but you don't get that because he's pressing A all the time.
Yeah.
It was. I liked the story. I liked the gameplay. I liked discovering the secrets. Not Game of the Year by a long shot. Whereas Tunic, fantastic. I think that was a one-man project as well. Like it was so good. It was.
I don't think it's Game of the Year. I think Neon White is the runaway.
I
winner.
haven't played Neon White, so I can't actually say that. But of the ones I played, I think Tunic was so clever, so cute, so beautiful, and I just really appreciated it.
I think Tunic looks really clever. I actually haven't played Neon White either, but I've seen the gameplay for it. It's like, oh, this looks like it's a lot of fun. But I just didn't have reason
It's
get
fun
into
to think that Ben Esposito made Donut County and then he made that.
Wait, Neon White's same guy?
Yeah.
So
Oh my god, I
different
love that
games.
for him. I love that for him.
The man has range. But yeah, I thought that was easily the winner. It's not my personal winner. I think that no one's going to agree with me. I thought Norco was the game of the year in hindsight.
Boo.
I think I really like Narco's
Not
story. I
colorful
feel like
enough.
it is really smart, and the surreal visuals are so cool and all of that. But I don't think as a game it is very much less of a game, more of a it's a point and click adventure. Except for some of the fighting elements, where the bit where you can have the bear fight for you. I do love that. I love that so much.
I don't like the graphics, and that automatically bumps it off any possibility of the top spot.
Listen, I'm not about to fight for it. I get why it doesn't win. I just think in my eyes,
issue is
I'll
what
fight
are
for it
we
a
choosing
little
as
bit.
our winner if none of us agree on anything?
I could see Tunic being the winner. I think Neon White is technically much more accomplished in terms of what it tries to do. Like Tunic is something that's been done before by other people. That's just a heightened version of what Zelda's already done. whereas
Should
Neon
we,
White is
tell you
just,
what, to decide this, let's see which one has the highest Metacritic score out of the two of them.
oh, it would be Neon White, I'd assume.
Let's see. Just rejecting all the cookies because they're not getting my cookies. They're mine. Get your
I
own.
still haven't played through Tunic, but every time I see someone play it, I'm just kind of fascinated by the visual.
Every time it goes on sale, it doesn't go on sale for enough of a drop that I'll buy it.
Okay, so Neon White is 89 and Tunic is 85. So we'll give it to Neon White.
There you go.
There
I thought
you
that
go.
would be the case. It's just it's a lot more like groundbreaking in terms of what it tries to do. There's nothing like Neon White out there. Whereas Tunic, if you played Zelda, you've played Tunic. Just Tunic's more fun, probably.
Yeah. So
All right, let's do a roundup of our winners, I guess.
I want to mention Vampire Survivors. I feel very
yes, of course.
strange about that. I mean, it is very addictive, and I feel like everyone got really into it, and some people are still into it.
It's just a bullet hell at the end of the day.
It just feels like it's a very idle bullet hell. And yeah,
Exactly.
It's very hard to make a case for it because it is so simplistic, and you get bored of it very quickly.
Absolutely.
yeah.
There are a couple of ones I wrote down as like nominations. This one I was so surprised didn't get any sort of nominations. Citizen Sleeper didn't get mentioned at all.
I haven't played that, but I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Yeah, it just didn't get mentioned. I thought that was a shame because it's very, very good. And Cult of the Lamb and Stray weren't. So, you know. Also, Signalis, Tinykin.
I forgot about Tinykin. Yeah, that should have been a nomination.
There you go.
Not a winner, but still definitely a nomination.
What else? Curse of the Golden Idol, Metal Hellsinger, and Zero Zevert. They were the ones I wrote down. But yeah, of those, Citizen Sleeper definitely deserved to be nominated. Maybe Signalis as well. I thought it was quite good.
You know what else was completely snubbed?
What?
Okay.
I knew it. KO the Kangaroo. Well, I wonder why. I don't know why.
I'm just messing with you. I didn't deserve a nomination. But yeah, no,
It deserved
Tinykin
to
deserved a
win.
nomination.
It's all politics, man.
No, I'm sticking with Tunic as my winner for 22.
Cool. So let's give a rundown of the winners and then we will call it a day. So in 2014, we agreed on Shovel Knight.
Yep.
Okay.
In 2015, we agree on Rocket League.
Fine.
Not Undertale, sadly. In 2016, we'd agreed on Inside. Did we agree?
Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley we agreed on.
Me and JT overruled you.
Yeah.
Stardew Valley we agreed on. 2017, we agreed to go with Hollow Knight instead of all of the other nominations.
Yep.
In its debut for that one, we also picked Hollow Knight as well.
Yeah.
2018, we agreed on Celeste.
Yeah.
And we agreed on Yoku's Island Express instead of The Messenger for the debut.
Yes, we did.
In 2019, it was Disco Elysium across the board.
Yeah,
as it should be.
Good.
In 2020, we had Hades as the winner. I think we just reluctantly went with Phasmophobia as the debut because
we didn't have much of an opinion on it.
Yeah, I would say actually I didn't think Phasmophobia was that good. I mean,
yeah,
honestly,
but I just know. I know myself. Carrion's not that good. Mortal Shell isn't that good either. And I always get Raki and Roki mixed up, so I don't know which one's which.
Either of them. So
it's just two different letters, and it's like also Mori.
Also a Mori.
Up there.
Also a Mori. In 2021, we decided on Inscription, I believe.
Yeah.
And the debut, I think we agreed on.
Forgotten City, I thought was 2021. We agreed on.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah. Forgotten City, we can agree on. That'll be both categories.
Yeah.
And then 2022, we agreed on Neon White across the board.
Oh, yeah, I didn't say Neon White, didn't we?
Neon White across the board.
I forgot about that. Yeah, fine. Neon White.
So what we have learned is that the Game Awards are wrong sometimes.
Rigged.
And just so you know, if you're still here at this point in time, we are doing our own Game Awards. We are picking all the best indies for 2023. And when you return in 2 weeks' time for our Indie Game Culture podcast, we will be going through your Indie Games of the Year alongside our individual picks for each category. Just to give you a rundown of those categories, we have Best Game Direction, we have Best Narrative, we have Best Game Art, we have Best Overall Audio, we have Games for Impact, Best Early Access Game, Best RPG, Best Horror, Best Puzzle, I'm losing breath, Best Action Adventure, Best Platformer, Best Cozy Game, Best Multiplayer, Most Anticipated, Best Debut Game, Worst Game of the Year, and best game of the year. So be sure to head over to indiegameculture.com and cast your votes. Every vote matters. Oh, and if you're going to vote other, please write the name that you mean. Please. We can't have other win one of these categories. It will be a disaster. As well as that, please visit the website. Please look at our socials. Please give us 5 stars. It would mean the world. And please come back for the next episode. I've been Cal. Malika and JT have been themselves. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
See ya.